So hopefully you watched Assessing Risk Part B last night, and that will prepare you for the Check Your Understanding quiz. And again, I'm going to emphasize, we're not grading you on this. This helps us see that you've watched the video. It helps us see if maybe our questions in the quiz might not quite be the best questions, when sometimes a bunch of people get it wrong. Or it tells us that maybe we didn't cover off that topic well enough, so we can circle back later and make sure we emphasize the understanding in those areas. It's also good for the students. If you see that the question, you didn't quite get it right, you can go back and say, okay, what did I miss? What did I not understand? So it's a check your understanding type quiz. So here's the link. You can do that this morning, and then Leah will take us through an energizer right after that, and we'll start the morning right. All right, link has been shared. You're on. Some music, please, maestro. Are you looking for a good song? Oh, there it is. Nice. Or I guess Leah's on.
Hello. Hello. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for finishing the quizzes. You actually pointing out a challenge with the writing of question 8 actually works as a perfect segue for today, because it shows me that you're paying attention to the nuances of language. And so it's lovely to actually get to see all of you. I was just a video recording for your opening ceremonies, and I'm delighted to be here today. So what we're going to talk about today is connection and communication. That is the crux of this middle of the week bootcamp day. We're going to talk AI tools and LLMs. We're going to talk personal passions. We are going to talk things that spark our joy and enthusiasm in the research projects that you're doing, and how we can kind of translate all of that to help you get really good conversations within your various markets so that you can get those 100 interviews as you go through this program. To start, I'm shaking it up this morning. To start, we're going to go with our feelings and do a little feelings focused activity to kick us off for the energizer, because Dimitri challenged me to do something that was unconventional for Lab2Market and involved AI. And so here we go. We're doing a poetry corner using large language models. You and a bot are going to write a poem about entrepreneurial dreams. Buckle up. So we're going to this is very much a non-tech talking way. And that is really the focus of today. You're kind of coming out of the lab as brilliant researchers and academics, so versed, so deep into the work that you do. And we're kind of dropping you into commercial markets, global business markets, who don't speak that way by and large. When you get into the different engineering departments and technical departments and security departments, there's so much jargon and language nuance within a department, within an organization, and then within the sector, kind of nesting eggs all coming out of that. That part of the bootcamp and part of Lab2Market as a core program is helping with that translation and getting you to pick up new business language skills. So much of the work we do out here is in business language. And me, as a professional marketer and business communicator, it's the world that I live in. I write value propositions for a living, is what it feels like most days. And honestly, the only work I seem to be doing in Q1 is writing value propositions and great hypothesis and customer segments. I play in all the boxes on a business model canvas all day long. So what I want to do today is kind of, in a dramatic sense, pull you out of the tech speak. And we're going to spend a lot of time just talking like regular people, getting to know each other, and then starting to layer on technical proficiencies, a little bit of research, a little bit about what we might be working on and how we're going to move that forward. So for the poetry corner, we're going to talk about entrepreneurial aspirations. What is your entrepreneurial dream? What made you think this was a program that you wanted to explore and check out and see if commercialization of research was something that was really going to appeal to you and might be a new avenue to explore in your careers? That's the question I want to get at first thing this morning. What do you want to achieve in any of this, in this crazy 10-week program that you've gotten yourself into? What do you actually want to achieve? Forget about what Lab2Market hopes to teach you. What do you hope to do someday? You're going to ask the bot to write this in a poem for you. This can be a Shakespearean sonnet if you're feeling fancy. This can be a haiku. This can be a simple, give me 5 lines that rhymes like a Dr. Seuss story if you want it to. Your choice, you are the artist in this one. Then we're going to just share a couple of them if you're feeling particularly brave. I have written one for myself as well. So your IT instruction right now, we're going to be using large language models throughout today. So pop one open that you like. If it's a ChatGPT that you have, if it's Poe, if it's Microsoft Copilot that you're working on these days because you're keen, if you've got a Canva Pro account and want to use the Magic Writer in that, fill your boots. If you don't have any LLM you're using right now, a quick and easy one, go over to chat.openai.com. I will pop the link into the chat. You can sign up for a free account in like under a minute. And I will wait if you need that. But I want you to open up an LLM of your choice. And then you are going to write it a prompt. What is your entrepreneurial dream? You want it to write you a poem, a short poem. Any kind of adjectives of rhyming or length or focus of your choice. Talking about your entrepreneurial dream and what you hope to achieve. What do you hope to achieve? Feel free to tell the LLM. The prompt I wrote for myself is you are a poet and have a refined skill for taking feelings and playfully creating emotive poetry out of them. Write me a short poem about my dream to be a successful business owner who took an idea from the lab and made it work and be valuable in the market. The best part is that my family's proud of me and I make a lot of money from this. That is the prompt I gave ChatGPT, and then it wrote me a poem, and it makes me giggle, and I've now put it on my wall. But that is the poetry corner for this morning. If you have any questions, fire away or pop them in the chat, and we'll make sure they get answered as you go.
I just want to ask if I can
Clear, navigate challenges without any fear. Research the market, let knowledge ignite. A foundation robust, poised for the fight. This is so good. Through valleys low and mountains high, they chase the dream across the sky, innovating, creating with eyes that gleam, forging ahead in their entrepreneurial dream. Heck yes, folks. This is awesome. In the realm of tech where dreams align, self-driving cars, a vision so fine. Oh man, self-driving cars, I would love it. For elders, interface is a bridge to weave, launching solutions and dreams. These are all moving too fast in the chat to keep up. This is so good, you guys. This is it. In the realm of dreams and daring thought, a vision of freedom fervently sought, a founder's ambition bold and new in the virtual world, a journey pursue. AR/VR glasses, a gateway opens wide to a universe where knowledge and skill collide, training machines with a virtual embrace, guiding learners to a novel space. Yes, yes, this is the space of play, where when we're using AI, which I'm confident all of you are using AI in your labs. It's been common for you guys for a long time, and you're doing brilliant things with it. It's new to business. And as far as marketers and writers and content, LLMs are a relatively new tool on the market that we in the business world are getting to play with, and they're coming in at various speeds, understanding, and skill throughout the business world. What that means right now is that there is this like swell of terrible content that's hitting emails, voicemails, social media, and publications where we're just letting the AI write it. We're letting the LLM, I should say, to be specific. We're letting the LLM write it, and then we just push it out, and we're like, cool beans. What I want to really drill in all of us today is that an LLM can be your best friend for business communications, as long as you're using it as a tool and not a solution. And so we're going to play around with it when we're crafting email scripts. We're going to play around with it when we're doing voicemail scripts and you're doing outreach and you're writing questions. It can be a really great resource, but it's not to be the solution. You cannot type something in, get perfection, and then run with it for everybody. And so playing around with prompt engineering when it comes to the LLM for a business output, getting creative, spending some time playing around in whichever LLM you prefer. There's so many to choose from right now, which is really fun, especially with Microsoft Copilot launching. This is a space where you will get more comfortable and you'll find the way that works best for how you like to communicate. You'll figure out that prompt design. And so sometimes it's as simple as letting the LLM know it's a business communication expert. And teeing that up will get you a different output linguistically about how that actually gets communicated out. And you can kind of go back and refine. And we're going to work through that today. So the poetry corner, I love all this, Dimitri. I hope you're grabbing these, or Amanda, because this is too good to lose anywhere else. Have fun with this. Have fun with how you communicate. Think about the way that words make you feel. Think about the way that words impact other people and how they make them feel, and how we trigger reactions and actions out of people, and how we get results from the words that we choose as we move forward. So this is brilliant. Did anyone have any questions, any experiences, any weirdness? How did this feel? This is a strange energizer to get us started, but I am absolutely adoring the outputs that you have here. Had anyone asked an LLM to write it a poem before? Just me? Just me. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, I get it to do it a lot. It writes a lot of songs about my dog. Perfect. Well, thank you for humoring me with LLM poetry this morning. We've got some more. Next up on the docket, Amanda is going to walk us through a couple program tools to get us started this morning, and then we will get back into writing things. If at any point today you have any questions, if I'm going too fast, a bad habit of mine, if something doesn't make sense, 1, raise your hand and ask the question. 2, just unmute yourself and ask the question. Sometimes I miss hands being raised. 3, pop it in the chat and we will get it answered. This is your boot camp. These are skills to help you develop your business skills moving forward, your communication skills in the business landscape. My job here is to impart some knowledge, but to make sure that you're enjoying it and can work with it. So you gotta let me know if it's not working for you so that we can make sure that we get all on the same page as we go through this and make it magical for each and every one of you. Great job on the poems. Great job. Amanda, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Leah. That was a really fun activity. Those poems are amazing. And Leah, I would love to see your poem about your dogs that you've generated before. We'll chat about that later. So for today, we are looking at something called the CRM. So what is our CRM? So the CRM is a customer relationship management tool. So the purpose of it is to help keep you organized with your customer outreach initiatives. So every entrepreneur and many businesses uses a CRM tool of some sort, ranging from anything that's a simple spreadsheet to more complex softwares with lots of bells and whistles and features. For this program, you're not going to really need all of those external features. We're just going to pare it down for you, and we've created a simple CRM spreadsheet. So how do you find it? So yesterday, when I gave you the Notion link to the home page, I'll share it with you again in the chat. So make sure again to bookmark this link because you'll be able to find almost anything you need throughout the program from the homepage in Notion. So once you open up that page, I'm just going to share my screen so you can see and follow along of how to access your CRM specifically. Okay, and we'll do this one. Okay, so when you open up the link, it'll take you to the home page. What you want to do in order to access your CRM or your team folders, click on the Cohort 5 team folders link here under important pages. Once you're on this page, then you will click into your team number. Again, we shared it yesterday, but we also invited you in Slack to a private team channel with your team number. So you can always look in Slack as well to reference which team you are to open up the specific folder. So once you click on your team folder, I'm just going to open up an example folder here. It's going to be the one that's labeled 02_T. It'll have your team number, CRM C5. So you're going to double click on that to open it up. And this is what it's going to look like. So it's going to have some information for you to fill up with some themes and the labels on top. We'll go through and explain what you are going to be filling out. So the key for the CRM is getting into the habit of doing a little bit every single day, as opposed to leaving the bulk of it to the end. So this is a skill set that's not only important for you as an entrepreneur, if you want to move that route, but in everyday life, even as a researcher, academic, or just in your personal life as well. This is something we'll be emphasizing a lot throughout the course. It'll make your life so much easier just to break it down a little bit each day. So for the customer relationship management tool that we have created for you, we have it kind of basic, but we do have some features in terms of just making sure that you can keep yourself organized. So the first item that we have up here is we have the contact information. So what you're going to be doing is when you're searching for stakeholders to reach out to, we'll go into a deeper dive in this later on of how to find them. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be searching up different potential contacts to reach out to. Once you find that information, you'll be entering in their first name, last name, preferred name if they have a nickname that they prefer to go by, the company name, which position they hold, and then customer type. So this is something that if we have not gone over yet, we will be going over the specific customer types that you can choose from for your specific contact here. Next, we have the email, additional contact information if there's anything else you wanted to add, phone number. Then the next category that we have is outreach information. So we have the date of when you reached out and sent the first initial ask or request to that contact, which channel. So that just means if you sent an email to them, if you called them, if you reached out on LinkedIn, etc. You can put any notes if they've responded to you. If a meeting has been booked and that's the goal, then you can check off this box. Same thing, that what you'll do then, and we'll walk you through this, is how to send a calendar invitation to them with a Zoom meeting room link. Then again, you can just check that off to keep it organized. Write down the date. Also, for the referral name here, just to double check, Leah, is this more so just a referral when you have a meeting with them? If you ask them, hi, is there anybody else I can talk to in the future?
It can be both. So this can be if you take notes during your meeting and you get a referral, make a note of it here. It's also a great spot if you were referred to this person, so that when you're having the conversation, you can remind them, I'm not a stranger. Bob actually suggested, and you know Bob, you love Bob. You know Bob. And so Bob recommended I talk to you. And then you can kind of have that as a quick note. The idea behind this, folks, is we've seen students come into office hours in a range of overwhelmed to fully in tears and losing sleep, trying to manage all of this just in their head, or trying to manage it through 600 emails. The reality in the world is no one likes their CRM. Everyone uses one. And so you have to find a balance between the two. Having worked in a dozen different platforms of these over the years, this simple version is the loveliest version to get yourself started. And if you can make friends and peace with the CRM early on in the program, you will have far greater success staying organized and keeping your own enthusiasm and kind of resiliency in check versus those of you who will let this fall to the side.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Anything to add, Dimitri, at all?
I would just add that every salesperson, every networker, every marketer knows that when you have to make 100 phone calls to get 3 or 4 people to kind of respond favorably, the attitude isn't, oh, I'm getting all dismayed and upset because everybody's rejecting me. It's more like you make a phone call, a person says no, you hang up, you say, great, only 99 more to go. Only 90 more to go. And then to get those 3 or 4 people that you want. So the attitude has to be a little different. It's, I'm going to do the work and I'm going to get the results, because we know that the averages, when we do this kinds of things, the return is something like 10%. But if you listen to Leah and to some of the other people during this week, you'll develop some tactics that increases the number of open rates and return rates that you'll get. So take it to heart. These best practices have been really thought through over several cohorts as we kind of support students. And so the things that we're going to share are things that work.
Great. Thank you so much, Dimitri. So just with the remainder of the CRM. So again, thank you very much for clarifying the referral name there. You also can put 2 if you've followed up with the individual. At the end too, you can also check off when the meeting has been complete. And then it is best practice to send your interviewee a thank you message. So whether it be an email, LinkedIn message, a phone call, just to thank them for their time. That's something that's very important to build those relationships and make sure that, you end on a good note and that you just show that you're appreciative of the knowledge that they shared with you. With innovation within. So again, we mentioned, or we had James O'Connor do a fantastic presentation yesterday to show you how to use the platform to your advantage. So we just added that in your CRM as well to help you keep track and keep yourself on track. So the 2 items we have is that you upload the interview and publish it, and then also update any insights in innovation within, and you can also link those. So when you're entering in anything to do with your, customer segments or value proposition hypotheses, etc., then these are items where you can kind of keep track of that. We also have the general notes section. So anything else that's relevant to this individual, something that is really a good practice to make sure that you create a habit in is learning something personal about that person. Sorry, one sec. Learning something personable about that individual, about what their likes are. So for example, if you know that they're really into like golfing, then you can just write a note about that. Next time you speak with that person, you can ask them, so how's golfing been over the summer? Has your swing gotten any better? Has your game gone improve? So that way you have a little bit more of a connection with that individual. People appreciate when you remember those details about them. So that's the general gist of the CRM. Even though we've provided this template for you within your folders, you are welcome to customize it any way that works best for you. If you want to add a column, you can do that just by doing that, and you can relabel things. So that way, just use this tool just to keep you organized in a way that works best for you. So before we move on to anything else, or we move on to innovation within, does anybody have any questions at all? No, all good. Fantastic. And next thing, so I do just want to give you a heads up.
Oh, I think Uzair has a question.
Sure, go ahead.
What's the purpose of this future meeting? Like, if the person has given all the answers which we have asked in the questionnaires, so do we have to contact him again, or we have to be in contact with him until our product is launched?
Oh, you're talking about this one here, right? Let me just
Yeah,
move.
future meetings. Yeah.
I can flag that one. So one thing that's going to happen is they are going to be very impressed with some of the young people that are speaking to them. And so they may ask, hey, we're really interested in what you're doing. And you may offer, hey, would you like me to circle back and let you know some of the results that we're getting? Or would you like, they may ask you, can you come back and we want to talk about this some more? And then sometimes, you asked a bunch of questions and then the questions change later on. And there's some value in going back and talking to the same person if they're open to it. Can I come back at a later date and ask you a few more questions, especially if you're getting that rapport happening, right? So I know that Amanda just talked about using a little bit of surface talk, the golf game, this and that. That's kind of a 10% surface talk, and let's get right into the actual interview and stuff like that. But keeping it light with some surface talk, which is basically connecting socially, is good too. And then you have to be mindful of their time. Chances are a lot of times, Leah, you can let me know if this is true for you guys as well. You'll ask for 10 or 15 minutes of an interview and they'll hang on to you for a longer and stuff like that. So that shows, you see that spark in their eye, the conversation is going in the right direction. Listen to what they're saying, listen to the words they're using, start learning those words because you're going to use them in your marketing in the future. These are things that resonate with them. These are clues for you. So follow-up meetings can happen. And one thing I'm not sure about is, does that count for 2 interviews? Well, I think if you're asking a whole different set of questions, you can use the same person as 2 interviews and so on. So these are little things that we want to make sure that you're kind of building relationship with. You're building your network of assets that you're going to probably benefit from in whatever way in the future. You heard during fireside chat that many of those folks that were talking with us said the thing they appreciated is this vast network they created that they reach out to all the time and derive value from. So that's what I think that whole follow-up piece is. Yes,
The
let's
flip
meet
side,
again.
I will
Go
add
ahead.
the flip side of that, Uzair, is that you are going to experience a variety of interviews in this program. And some are going to go bad. And it's not because of you. It's the other person. It's the person you reached out to was not the right fit for this conversation. You got them on the wrong day. Future meeting can be an intro that says, hard no, do not want to talk to this person again. Did not enjoy. And sometimes just having a place to put down can be really helpful kind of on the psychic level of doing this work. Not every interview is going to go according to plan. That's not your fault. Some people are just bad to interview, and you'll discover them along the way. And so having that as kind of a spot to play in. I've seen a lot of students who do pivots mid-program and kind of find a new path or a new opportunity. They had no idea that the market was looking for this. They've been able, because they flagged a really great person, they just really enjoyed the conversation and they'd like to have, if there was ever an opportunity to follow up, they just made a little flag in the system so that they remembered that. And then when that pivot came, they had like an easier place to jump back in and start doing some new interviews in a new direction. So play around with it. Every column won't get filled out for every single interview you do. It just really helps you stay on top of things. And it will make your office hours a more pleasant experience with your facilitators, because they'll be checking this as well, kind of in tandem with your innovation within, to ensure that you're staying on top of everything, because this is an enormous amount of work. And I know that you're all coming from really serious academic backgrounds and labs with enormous amounts of work. Volume-wise, it's probably less than you're used to, but this is brand new context. And it comes with steep learning curves, weird jargon, inexplicable practices that defy logic, but simply are. And so you're kind of dropping yourself onto a foreign planet and saying, I have to figure out how all of this works. And we're here to help guide you through. So the more places you can kind of keep notes and show that you're really trying, that helps build the cadence of how can we find new and creative supports. And when you're struggling to get those interviews, if we see the outreach and the CRM is there, it helps us kind of pull in our bag of tricks of new places we might be able to pull out and help you guys find new avenues and kind of bend some rules and see what might be possible. So it helps all of us stay on track.
Great. And Saeed, you have a question?
Yes, can you briefly explain the customer types? I think some of them are just a little bit vague to me. I don't know. The third one from the border, Sabuder or Sabuder, I don't know the pronunciation.
Do you want me
what
to
that
take those,
is.
Amanda?
Sure,
Well,
that'd
we
be great.
ask for a little bit of patience, but yeah, go ahead, give them a glot because we're going to cover this in the
Yeah, so you're jumping ahead. And I love the energy. So these are generic categories used in most kind of sales, marketing, customer development. You'll hear these words get bandied about a lot. And so they're quick ways to categorize someone you're talking to or where they fit into your product's experience. So you all are one of these or many of these for all the products you buy and interact with in the run of a day. If you're an iPhone user or an Android, you are your university versus another university. You are one of these. So end user is the person who's actually using the product physically in their hands every day. The end user distinguishes them from someone who paid. So if you think about children's breakfast cereals, the super fun chocolatey ones that make no sense, the end user is the kid. The kid did not go to the grocery store and make the decision to buy it and then pay for it. That's someone else. That is a decision maker, and an economic buyer would be the parent. They're the ones doing the grocery shopping, but the kid's the one gobbling all the good stuff down. Decision maker in an organization might be the manager, it might be the head of finance, it might be the head of engineering, but it's the person who makes the final decision of yes or no, or this is what the strategic priority is. They might never use the product that you have. They might run a team. They might not have anything to do with paying for it or know how payment actually happens, but they're the final say and must be won over. The economic buyer is the person who pays. That's who you have to deal with. A lot of the times in large organizations, that might be like a procurement office who handles all of that. Might be the finance department that you're working with, but you'll have little relationships with organizations, depending on who you go and talk to about the money. And that's kind of that side. The influencer, the mysterious person in the organization, they don't necessarily use whatever it is you've sold. They don't necessarily make the decision, but their opinion, their position within the team or the dynamics of the organization means they have influence over what happens. Others will go to them to bounce ideas around or to see if they have recommendations. So they hold a lot of influence. Classically, social media influencers are the same idea, just in the corporate world. A recommender, very similar to an influencer. This is like when we're talking about getting a referral into an interview. This is recommending you for something. You were recommended to the Lab2Market program. You have likely recommended a product or service, a destination, a restaurant, a grocery item to friends or family. That's that kind of position of you anchor in. You might not buy it regularly. You might not eat it yourself, but you know it's really good. I can recommend this. You make Netflix recommendations all the time. The saboteur, my personal favorite, because they're infuriating people. These are people who, for reasons that may be evident, reasons that may be completely secretive, are absolutely determined to sink your idea in that organization. They have motivations that mean they're going to stand in your way. Video game terms, this is the boss fight. This is what you have to get through. Your beneficiaries are the people who within the organization or group you are selling into get kind of that splash zone of positive effect. You might have, we call these kind of the ripple effects, the ripple benefits, the downstream impacts for more corporate talk. And those are the ones who, because the organization chooses to use your product, other departments and other people's work lives get better. They aren't directly involved, but it all gets better. And so a park goes into a community. You might not live right on that park. You might not go to that park, but property values went up because there's a park nearby now. You benefited from the overall system. And then the champion is your like hardcore enthusiast, the person who's pushing this through, the person who's driving change within the organization. They usually have a slightly higher risk tolerance. They're looking to make a modification. They have authority to do something about this, and they want to try something new. They want to test your option out and work with you, and they will champion you through. Gold stars if you can find a champion. We all dream of finding champions. We all work in the business world to find champions and be champions ourselves. We all try not to be the saboteur. At some point in time, we will all be someone's saboteur. We will just get in the way because we don't like someone, because we don't like the option, because we know there's a better option, because we feel people aren't seeing the risks we're seeing. We all live in the space at some point. The reason these are in the CRM is as you're talking to people, as you're asking various questions, you're never going to flat out say, are you the saboteur? But you're going to start getting a vibe from folks. You're going to understand if they use this product or a similar product or have to work in this space every single day. And you're going to figure out if they actually have authority to make decisions. And that starts coming through in subtle conversation cues and the style and structure you ask your questions. You're going to get a vibe check if someone's a saboteur. Usually if they're super negative in calls, they're likely a saboteur. If you're getting shut down, saboteur, tuck it in. And you can kind of move along that way. As you go through the program, we're going to get a lot more detail on these people and these personality hubs and a lot of exercises to go with them too. Dimitri.
Just a quick question for Amanda. So if somebody fits a couple of categories, are we pigeonholed to picking one, or can we type in two?
Let's take a peek if we can pick a couple or not. So right now it's just one. So what we can do is I'll go through the process of seeing if I can change that where you can choose and select multiple instead.
I don't think we need to change it right now, but for now, I would say this doesn't happen as often as you like. You want to try and isolate the type of category you're using for that person. But if you feel they really strongly fit two, then I would put it in the notes section and so on. Just because I think it's a big job for Amanda to go through everybody's thing and change it now. So we'll change it for next iteration.
You're going to be talking to end users. You're going to be talking to influencers. You might occasionally get some decision makers later on. hopefully you don't talk to too many saboteurs, and I wish you all the best in talking to a couple champions along the way, but you'll find a lot of end users really understand the struggles and have the most insight available to you about how stuff gets done and how you might fit into that as you go. Fan?
Yeah, just a quick question. Is there a suggested proportion of each customer type, or that really depends on a
All
recruit?
depends on how you're going. As you go through this and you start noticing that you have a heavy percentage in a particular area, your facilitators can help you kind of develop some strategies or get you in the right direction to find other ones to kind of balance out, or even just ways to craft questions a little differently to get more referrals into other places. Never the saboteur. We don't really want to talk to them. But finding more champions, finding more decision makers, that can kind of happen. I'd say do your first 20, maybe 25 interviews, and then take a look at your kind of balance of where you think you're having these conversations, talk it through. And office hours is a great place for that particular conversation where they're one-to-one and you have a bit more time. And then you can start figuring out, okay, I really need to talk to more decision makers. Where am I missing the mark to actually get them and find this? And that might be a referral source, but there's no specific, like you want 10% in each category or anything like that.
And champions are basically go-to people, subject matter experts, advocates. You know, they have different labels attached to them, but basically they influence the decision in some way.
Agreed. Well, thank you very much for those insights. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pose a challenge to you all. We're going to give you 3 minutes. You're going to open up your CRM. Then from there, you're going to look up the information for rather Leah, Henry, Andrea, or Rosalie, which are your facilitators. So the methods of where you can find the information can be Google. It could be LinkedIn. It could be even on Notion somewhere. If you paid attention during the orientation of where information is about your facilitators, or you can search through. The one caveat is you cannot ask them directly or us directly. So we're going to give you 3 minutes. Be creative. Fill out what you can. Of course, you're not going to be filling out the later information about, booked meeting, calendar invite, etc. But just try to fill in the first, last name. A preferred name might be tough to find, but sometimes you can find that. A company name, position, and an email. And if you can find a phone number, great.
Lab2Market you'd absolutely want to talk to, you can talk to us as a formal interview. You have to book it separately. It doesn't count as an office hour. It doesn't count as a mentor chat, but you can request formal customer interviews with us if we are in fact a right fit for you.
Contact info, LinkedIn.
Well done.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You'd be amazed at how many times we run this exercise and no one goes to Notion.
So of course, like for this specific exercise, that's great where you were able to find the facilitator contact information there. Keep in mind though, for your stakeholder interviews, they're not necessarily going to be on Notion. So we're going to show you different strategies of where you can look on LinkedIn, etc. Also, Andrea is going to be covering on Friday some different best practices and strategies for populating different contacts that you can reach out to as well. For anybody else, were there any other struggles or challenges that you found when you're trying to find the information for the facilitators? Easy peasy? Fantastic. Oh, okay, go ahead.
One little trick that I like to use that sometimes yields a result is I will Google the person and then I will click images. And if a bunch of photos show up, they're always linked to some bio or some LinkedIn or some article or something where I can find some content or a team page or, anything contacts page that like that. Somehow I find sometimes it's easier to go look for a photo of a person. And if they like to take photos of themselves in this new world of selfies, then you'll find information, contact information, articles. Sometimes articles are really good because you want, when you have that interview, you say, hey, I read your article it was very interesting. You're putting this in your email. Maybe we can follow up and I could ask you some more questions about that. You're amazing, that kind of thing. So people will reach back when you stroke their ego a little bit too.
Yes, thank you for that tip, Dimitri. So just one last note about the CRM. So like I've mentioned, Andrea is going to be going over different strategies more in depth. So I wanted to give you a bit of a heads up though. So we did mention that there is the opportunity to win some prizes for gift cards. So Andrea is going to set a challenge on the Friday to have 50 contact information for potential stakeholders entered into your CRM and completed by 10 p.m. Central Time on Friday, January 12th, 2024. So we're encouraging you and just giving you a bit of a heads up so you can have a bit of a head start. But other than that, that will position you to be in a better way to be able to actually win a little bit of money for a gift card. So just a heads up about that. She'll go in more detail about the requirements. We only have a couple minutes left, but I just did want to check in just to see if everybody was able to accept their invitation from Innovation Within. Was anybody having any issue with that? No?
I have one other question. I'm not quite sure because I need to revise. We said that we have to contact 1,000 and to have 100 meetings, right? Plus.
That's
All the 1,000s that I contact, I should fill them in the CRM. Okay.
Correct. So that will help keep you organized there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great question. Anybody else have any questions at all or had any issues with accessing Innovation Within? No? Okay, fantastic. So for Innovation Within then, when you first accept your invitation, what you'll do is you're going to go into the canvas, what James showed you yesterday about entering in your hypotheses, insights, your customer segments, and then linking them to one another. So that was some of the homework for yesterday. If you didn't have a chance to do that, feel free to do that rather over the lunch hour or for tonight with the other homework. If you're having any issues with accessing Innovation Within, just please reach out to me on this software support channel in Slack, and I'll be happy to get you set up. Anything else to add about Innovation Within from either Dimitri or Leah?
So as far as it being homework, the deliverables on your end is, did you successfully get into Innovation Within? Were you able to click and type some content into the canvas? So it's as little as that at this point. Some of you may get a little more ambitious and start filling in lots of parts of the canvas. Right now, our focus for a good portion of the next little while is the value proposition block and the customer segment block. If you get those two right, which requires some interviews and some iteration, maybe some pivots, when you kind of zero in on the right customer segments, and then you connect the value propositions to those customer segments, and you're getting closer to not being a hypothesis and de-risking your hypotheses, that's when you get that level of correctness or de-risking, then the rest of the canvas goes in the right direction. Otherwise, if you get it wrong in those two, you can pretty much get it wrong the rest of the canvas as well, and then you're kind of chasing the wrong dream. So lots of great poetry today. Want to make sure those things come true. So let's do that. So if you run into a problem with Innovation Within, because Murphy's Law when it comes to tech kicks in, please don't feel unsupported. We're here to try and make sure that we iron through those things this week, because we don't want you stuck later when you're wanting to use your canvas, on a more regular basis. So that's all I think we have before the break here, right? I did have a video to show, but I'll start with that. Maybe if Leah will give me 2 minutes at the front end of her lesson. Is that okay?
Ugh, yeah, it's fine.
Okay. So these guys can go for a break. I think we give them enough so far.
Yeah, great job this morning. All right, so we've got a 15-minute break and then sounds will happen and you will come back. And we're going to get into script writing for emails.
Enjoy your break. I'll put up the timer.
Got to go through the entire conference building with the little glockenspiel, dinging at people that it was time to go back into their conference breakouts. The hotel that we were hosting at had one for conference meetings, and it was the most fun. I was like the little Pied Piper rolling through, dingling along. It works every time. Welcome back, everybody. cameras on. Oh, you're going to hear us say cameras on all the time. I'm sorry that we sound like a broken record on that one. It's the national program, but we love your lovely faces. So unless your cam is busted, which happens as we're seeing today, it happens. Cameras bust. It's great to have the cameras on just so we can make sure you're alive, well, and this is all sinking in for you. Before we jump into the wonderful world of script writing, Dimitri, do you have an audio-visual presentation for us?
I'm just going to show a little video. I shared it yesterday in the Slack under fun stuff, but I'm going to show it again today, and hopefully it'll just it's a bit of an encouragement from me to the rest of the group here. So let's see if we can do this correctly. Share the screen. No, not that. Am I a co-host? I am, eh?
Yeah, you're good.
Why am I having trouble sharing here? Hang on. Ah, here we go. And share sound, optimize sound. Beauty. All right. From me to you. Well, just a little something to get you in the spirit of things. Make no mistake, if you're not putting 25 to 30 hours a week in at least in this program, that's what you signed on for. So make sure that you adjust your lifestyle and create the life work student balance that you need so that you can get all this stuff in. Do not binge work on this project. It is a daily habits and ritual type thing. If you do a little bit every day, 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it takes, to get stuff done, that amount of time starts to reduce after a while because you start getting those interviews showing up. We're starting you early with that enthusiasm, and I'm going to let Leah continue to build on that.
Awesome. Let me just get my screen sharing over here. And here we go. That looking good?
Yes.
Fabulous. Welcome back. Haha. We are talking script writing. You've got a CRM. You're going to be doing outreach. It might be up to 1,000 people who end up in your CRM. You have to say something to these people. And so the next logical question is, what exactly do you say to them? And so we're going to tackle two of those big kind of channels of how you're going to reach out to those folks and what you might actually say to them this morning. The first one is by email, everybody's favorite. And the second one is by voicemail, everybody's least favorite. So I feel if we can hit both ends of the spectrum for you today, you can find some comfort somewhere in the middle, and each of you will find your own groove within this. And because I cannot pass an opportunity to waggle my LinkedIn finger, you're also going to get a snapshot into my deeply held beliefs about LinkedIn outreach and communication, because you're going to hear a lot about LinkedIn. And people have feelings. People have a lot of feelings about LinkedIn these days, which makes for interesting communications. All to say, as a teaser for where this will go, is you need to find places and spaces that you're happy to be in. And each of you, that will look a little bit different as you go through this. If you have questions throughout this, because with screen sharing, things are a little bit wonky on my screen, please just raise your hand virtually, or just unmute yourself and ask away, because I cannot easily access the chat as well. So you all know how to write an email. I am confident of this. This is a skill you have acquired as a person in a working world and in academic settings. You know how to write an email. This is really what we're looking at today, is next level effective business communications through the medium of email, through the medium of voicemail. Because what's going to happen is that your emails, the voicemails, your LinkedIn outreaches, they're going into a sea of content that these individuals you're trying to connect with are experiencing every day. And I mean, like, upwards of 100 unsolicited emails could very easily be falling into any of their inboxes, and yours are part of that. And so what we want to do is help teach you some techniques, some strategies, and some resilience to help you get yours to the top of that pack that catches the eye, so someone does click on it, and then when they click on it and actually open it or get as far as seeing a preview, that there's valuable information in it that they actually want to take an action on. So we're looking at ways to kind of structure these things, and we're going to look at some good and some bad examples, and we're going to write some drafts ourselves today. You're not going to nail this on the first go. That's part of the writing process. But this is something that will get better. Every single email you send will get a little bit better than the last one. Every single cold call you do, you'll get a little bit braver than the last time. And so I like to rip the Band-Aid and get the awkward ones out of the way in Bootcamp, so that by the time you're doing this and actually sending out to prospective interviews, you're feeling really good about the value you can demonstrate, and you're really clear about what you're hoping to get from them. And when you've got those two things combined, you've got a powerful little business communication piece that can go out into the world and actually work for you. So we're going to dig into how to do all of this. I can figure out how to advance the slide. There we go. So what goes into an email? The subject line is the gate for all of this, especially when you're sending out business emails to corporate entities who have extensive firewalls. They have filters that you will never really get to know about in terms of what passes and what goes right to spam. And if you go right to spam, which will happen for most of you, for some of your emails will go right to spam. Happens to me all the time as a professional reaching out to people who I've had communication with, past clients. There'll be a system update in IT and suddenly my emails go to spam. And it just happens. And so you go through a little investigative process to figure that out, and you find some solutions to work around it, and you have some chats with people. But it's just something that happens. So the more you can get in a clear and compelling, really succinct subject line that's accurate but compelling, the better chance you have. Gate number one, and we have a better chance of moving forward. The components of a good email, 6 components, which feels like a lot when I'm telling you your email needs to be pretty short and sweet, but 6 components to writing a business email to ask for this interview and demonstrate some value there. Your greeting. What is the context the recipient is in? When you're thinking about email, all of it is based not about you. You want to put yourself in the shoes of the person who's going to read this or hear this. You want to put yourself in their place and say, what do they need to know? What's going to be valuable to them? This is not just about you. So in a greeting, context is kind of our first spot, because while you're doing this program, you'll be reaching out to Canadian-based organizations and individuals, American-based organizations and individuals, but globally based individuals and organizations as well. And there are nuances to business communication on an international scale. How you say hello in a Canadian-based email will look different than how you'd say hello to an organization or individual based in Japan, which will look different from Brazil, which will look different from Kenya. And so having some understanding and knowing where to go, even in a quick Google search, or what resources to pull on, hint, many of the mentors in this program can help you sort through those things. But just the greeting out the gate makes a difference on if this is being read or not. Hello, surprisingly safe, surprisingly underused, but a straightforward hello is a great way to go with this. In a Canadian-based market, you can often go, and American works as well for this one. A simple first name is often A-OK. You'd say, hello, Leah. How are you? My name is out there. That's how I communicate. When you're looking at other kind of high touch, high context cultures, you might be going with a hello, Mr. last name, hello, Mrs., hello, Ms. And so you want to have an understanding of what the person who's going to open this email, what their context and expectation is, what the level of touch and consideration, respect, or hierarchy is actually playing in. So every email will look a little bit different. That's part of the information to keep in the CRM as well. So yes, that much thought goes into a greeting. If you say, greetings, dear sir, that's going to a spam filter right out the gate. Like in a Canadian context market, that's going right out. And so it's one of those things that you do want to be careful for. And when using LLMs especially, you can get caught up in getting just a little lazy and a little efficient and not double checking some of those things. So we'll really be playing around with that a little bit. But when in doubt, hello works great. The introduction is the next part. You've got 1 to 2 lines, absolute max. This is not where you put in your biography about how wonderful and smart you are, because you're wonderful and smart. Let them discover that in the interview. Does not need to be in the email. This is where you want to tell me, the recipient, who you are and establish, the goal here is establish that you are worth my time right now reading this. We have not gotten as far to find out that you want to have an interview, and I need to evaluate that value. This is, do I pass the gate of continuing to read this email with any sort of attention and consideration? So be brief in this. Leverage Lab2Market. It's a wonderful program. People know about it in the market. They've talked to other students. So if you say, hi, I'm Miriam. I'm in the Lab2Market Prairies program. We're doing some research in this, and I'm hoping to talk with you. That's the extent of what you need to explain. You don't have to get into what is Lab2Market. You don't need to pitch the program, but just kind of leveling in that there's a context that you're plugging into. All of this is helping a recipient sort this communication piece into their day and into their consideration structure. And that might sound a little trivial. It might sound a little low stakes, but the more you can help them clock you into the best category you can dream of, which is getting the interview, that's the hard work you're trying to do in every single piece of communication that goes out. When we get to the ask, this is about getting to the point. What do you want? You want a 20-minute chat with them to get their insight on their experience on a particular topic. That's it. You want to learn how this particular tech that you're working on, how the tool, how the process, how the environment, how the market, whatever it might be. What do you want that only they can give you the insight to? This is not, I'm looking to learn about market practices and really general, because that feels like you could talk to anybody or that you're talking to everybody. And that doesn't make me and my time special. And if there's one thing that I know sitting on the other end of cold email outreaches for casual conversations, it's that I know my time is valuable. I charge a lot for it. And so I get a lot of asks for random calls and conversations. I need to know the person I'm going to speak to is going to be worth my time. So you're asking very specific and setting the context for them to explain and show that you understand their time is valuable and they have a secret only they can share with you, and you need that secret. When we move into the value demonstration, this is the secret part that you'll get better at the more communications you send. I do not expect that by the end of today, though you will have a great draft email ready to go, that you will have nailed value demonstration, because we don't know what the value really is yet, but we can play around with a few things. And this is really saying, I know why my time is valuable to you. I have the answer to something that you're looking for. We all understand that value exchange. But why are you valuable to me? Is there anything you can hint at that might be valuable to me, that might make this conversation interesting to me? Often that is going to be because you are a leading researcher in this field that I'm already passionate about. That's an interesting new perspective. You're a new person in the emerging technology or innovation or idea. You're seeing things from a really different space than I might be. That could be cool. And so it's trying to find that little value piece that you bring to this conversation as well, to say, yeah, they're going to get something from this too. It's going to be really interesting. They're going to get a peek at me and my thinking, at a new way the industry's going, what research in general is looking at. There's something there to be played with. And over time, as you keep sending out invitations for interviews, as you keep getting those accepted and then having those conversations, you're going to start getting really cool ideas about what that value demonstration is from that feedback loop. So that's one that you'll kind of grow into over time. Point 5, scheduling. You are going to suggest dates and times. They will be very soon from the time that you send out the email, but you want to anchor in with 20 minutes. This isn't just at your leisure. You're on a timeline and you need to get these interviews. So start suggesting sometimes and then leave yourself open to being flexible, and you can meet whenever they can meet. If you only leave it at you can meet whenever they can meet, you will get brushed off to the side of it and said, oh, I'll follow up. That doesn't seem urgent. So you want to keep things pretty time sensitive and pretty relevant. This is an easy 20 minutes we can get done by the end of the week. If you've got 20 minutes that you might be able to squeeze me in, I'm always open to any times at your convenience. Just one of those kind of passing sentences that gives them an anchor point, but allows for flexibility. And then the sign off. You got to stick this landing. You've put all this work in up to this point to write a great ask. Stick the landing. And so this is where you ask for a referral. If there's someone else they feel might be more appropriate for you to speak with than them, this is where you thank them sincerely for considering this ask. And this is where you promise to follow up, because you're going to follow up. There's a whole follow-up category in your CRM. You'll follow up probably about 3 times. And after 3 times, if they haven't responded, you can easily move along. But sometimes it really does take 2, sometimes 3 to get in someone's attention, even with the best of intentions. You say, oh, I read that. I'll follow up on that, and the day gets away from them because they're living full, rich lives out in their world with 1,000,007 demands on their time while they're at the office and 1,000,007 demands on their time once they're home. Miriam, A+ on the hand raising. I could see that easily. Thank you.
For the follow-up, should I reply with the same email or send a new email?
Oh, great question. I like following up with the original email because it reminds them that this has already come through, that this isn't someone new that I'm like, wait a second, is this something brand new? If it didn't work and you want to try a new angle, then go fresh. But you'll know that from kind of each one. Great question. Wakar, if I pronounce your names wrong, please correct me also. I really want to get them right. Wakar.
Yeah, that's right. So I was asking about the scheduling, like if I have an email, like if I am suggesting a day or a date for a meeting or an interview. So like, what should be the range? So should it be like, should I be suggesting days in the same week or a week after? Like, what should be the timeline?
Great question. If you are sending out your notes, so kind of in the cadence of emails that get sent on Fridays disappear into the void. Unless you're getting that out like first thing Friday morning. I haven't responded to an email in years that comes in Friday afternoon. It's my hold time for everything to go wrong. That's what everything goes wrong on a Friday afternoon in business. It's just the way life works. And so Friday afternoon emails are right out. If you're emailing someone on a Monday, offer a time Thursday or Friday, same week. Tuesday, I'd even say you could get into Friday. If you're kind of Wednesday and beyond, top of the next week. Unless you are like, I can squeak this in. My Friday's open. And then you could kind of tease it out like, this is a long shot, but if you happen to have some time on Friday, I am available at your convenience. Otherwise, like next week would be great. But you kind of want to move them as quickly as possible without seeming like pressury rush. So if I emailed on Monday and they got back to me, I wouldn't necessarily on a Monday be asking for a Tuesday interview. Like that just feels a little pressureful. Give yourself a couple days to play around with and stay as flexible as you can. But yeah. And just a caution, Monday and Tuesdays are heavy email days for organizations, business communication. Everyone does flurries of emails between like 10 and noon on Mondays because they got back into the office, discovered all the things that happened over the weekend, and now need to do the flurry of activity to make it happen. Tuesdays are big newsletter days. So you'll find that people can be in a bit of a better space to kind of take in new information on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Thursdays, hit or miss. Friday is usually a dead zone. And so that's kind of, every market will be a little bit different, but generally speaking, when it comes to business communication, that's a bit of a loose run that you can play with. You can absolutely schedule your emails in advance so that you have a batch go out at 10 a.m. on Tuesday mornings. If you drafted them all up on Monday, you could just have a batch send out automated for you as well. Just keep in mind things that are happening in the marketplace because you don't want to accidentally have an email auto send if there's been something. If you wouldn't want to have had an auto send to Boeing or Alaskan Airlines last week. if you could have avoided it. So just kind of keeping an eye on the media and market as well of what's going on in these businesses you're reaching out to so that you don't look like you haven't been paying attention.
So
To add so much more answer to a question you did not ask.
so should we touch on the scheduling in the first email or after we get an email like a reply?
I'd pitch some ideas right in that first email. I'd say I am looking at if you are available. I'm free this Thursday and Friday. My days are wide open and flexible. If you happen to have some time, I'm also available at your convenience. If there's a date or time that works better for you, and you can kind of keep them in those. Keep your windows open, like Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon. If you're like, I have Tuesday at 2:15 to 2:45 available, you're like, that's a little too specific. But we want to kind of play in there. Muhammad Ali. I cannot hear you. Can't hear. Do you want to pop your question in the chat? And I can answer it that way. Okay. Not jumping over you, Muhammad Ali, but Saeed, you had your next hand up.
I wanted to know if you are going to go with very casual kind of talking or conversation, or asking questions too informally, or going something like very serious and official. Which one works better based on the statistics and based on experience of yours?
Two ways to look at that. First, I say it depends on the geography and culture that you're reaching out to. So first you want to know who, so it's going to be different for everyone. For like for every one of you, and it's going to be different on all of the emails that you send. You're going to be sending a variety of casual to serious. It's the Goldilocks rule. You want the middle ground. You don't want to be super serious corporate boy, and you don't want to be super chill surfer bro. You need to find that space in the middle where you sound, at the end of the day, you want to sound like a lovely human being that would be pleasant to talk to. That's the objective. That's what the email is really trying to do for you, and what a voicemail or a LinkedIn outreach or any of those first connections are going to be. What you're doing is setting the stage for a lovely interaction that you're going to get to have. So however you show up, and you seem delightful. It has been a morning getting to see you on Zoom. You seem lovely. This you have a bit, I would say, a bit of a relaxed manner to you, and very conversational, comfortable feeling in a chat. So I think you can play a little more on business casual than full suit corporate. You're going to get into some conversations with some people because you will have done research on these people and have notes in your CRM file on them. You'll get a sense if they're super corporate and this needs to be very formal. If you're getting into more senior leadership positions, you're talking to VPs, you might even talk to a president. If you're talking to businesses and culture where there is a very specific hierarchy, and I always think of this from like a Japanese business conversations. There's a formality to them that does not exist in a Canadian business culture. And you just need to be very aware of those cultural differences and nuances. So if you are communicating in that space, it would be a much more formal structure. If the bulk of your interviews are happening with Canadian and American and British, Scottish, Irish based organizations, France would even be in a more formal space. Your kind of business casual approach to things will be great. Americans are a little more to the point and we move. Canadians are a little softer, and a bit more context is usually given around them, but you'll find a flow as you go through this. Thread that line for your general draft of being polite and formal without being stuffy, which we will get into practice in a second. That's a non-answer for you, but we will get into the practice of this. But it really is, it's the Goldilocks. You're looking for that one that's just right for the person you're reaching out to. Some days you'll have super casual ones, some days you'll have super formal ones, but each will vary based on the recipient. And you're always putting yourself in the recipient space. Awesome. All right. Muhammad Ali, I have your question here. If we want to connect with two people in one company, can we send an email to them at the same time, or is it better try once and the other? How long do we wait for response? Great question. If those two people work together, like on the same team, I'd reach out to both at the same time. If those two people work on the same team but are in two different positions, like one reports to the other, like in an actual hierarchy structure, I'd reach out to the senior person first, and then the junior, and then the more junior, not the junior, but like the more junior person. If they're two people in wildly different departments, then I'd reach out to them individually. That's just how I would approach this and how I have approached these things in the past. Because if they're on the same team, they're gonna talk about it. And you don't want them to discover that both of them got an email that didn't acknowledge the other one did, because now it feels like they're less special. And that their time, only one of them will take it then. And you'll only get one interview out of it. If you reach out to both and make the case of why talking to both of them is important to you, and how they each have something special, individual, and unique that you want to learn from, that's fantastic. They might even come back and say, yeah, we can both hop on the call at the same time and you can get 2 interviews done in one call. And that might even work for you. So you can kind of play around with it in that space as well. As far as how long do you wait for a response, give that 2 days. Generally speaking, give that 2 days and then give a little follow-up, a very polite, very short little follow-up, and then give that another 2 days or so with a little follow-up. If those people are away, you will get an out of office notification, in which case just wait till follow-up for a few days after they return to the office. So that's that. Who should be the first person to contact in the company? Great question. The person that you think, forget about titles to begin with. Go, like, use the title as something that helps you discover who is it that has the information you might actually need. Don't look at titles as things that show authority or innate value. I would be more interested personally, if I'm trying to figure out how a process actually works, I'd way rather talk to a plant manager or the actual engineer who's on the floor than talk to the director. Because once you move into kind of admin spaces, we're talking more business strategy, we're talking more budget, but you're not going to know how someone does the actual process, what the reality on the ground is, and how they work with tools or how they find creative solutions. It's just a different world. So it really depends on who you're looking to talk to. Don't chase talking to presidents and vice presidents because it looks good on a CRM or it feels like it would be a good place to kind of present yourself. You're not gonna get the interview nearly as likely, and you're not gonna get the same kind of information that you actually need. You need to really be clear about what you want to learn, about what insight you're trying to get at, about what mystery you're trying to solve, and then figuring out who are the people who are most likely going to be helpful on that adventure. And it's a long adventure. You're getting little snippets from all these different people as you go along. No one person holds all the answers for you. I wish they did, but they don't. One person has them all. And so as you gather these little threads, just don't be blinded by a great sounding title, because if there's one thing the business community across every single sector can do, it's create ridiculous titles that don't make sense or hold any particular meaning. And someone who's an advisor at one business, advisors at 2 different companies might have wildly different roles. Managers might have wildly different roles. Director, wildly different meaning. You'll find organizations with 7 different layers of VPs and no one knows why, but we just kind of ran out of titles and we create things. And so finding those folks that really can help you on your path, that's who you want to focus on as the first people to reach out to. I'm going to give you an example of a bad outreach email. This was sent to me, and this is the entirety of the communication. And I present this to you as a don't do this. And I present this to you as this is what you're up against. This is what's clogging up inboxes. So apropos nothing, I received on January 3rd the following email. Hey, Leah, I'm curious. Do you guys have leads or a database of people you're looking to be worked for by a sales rep for Kelford Inc.? I'm asking because I have a couple experienced sales reps used to booking 15 to 25 calls a week, looking for a new home that can work your leads and get you more clients. No salary, no weird retainer. They'll just eat what they kill. I mean, would that be worth a conversation? That's it. I had to go back into my files to find out this man's name is Greg. I don't know what company he works for. He did not sign his email. This was just sent to me. 1 day later. Hi, Leah. Did you get my last message? 1 day after that. Are you still with me? What is this, people? This is what's being sent. This is what you're up against. This is what makes people jaded when they see cold emails coming into their inbox, and what you have to overcome and show that you are a lovely human being that is here and sincere and here to be helpful and make this a positive experience for the recipient. But like, that's the emails. That's the cold email level that's coming out of people now. When we're talking about using LLMs in this process, you can absolutely use an LLM to help you write your emails, 100%. Get creative with the prompts. Use it as a brainstorming buddy and a first draft. Play with subject lines. I love using ChatGPT for subject lines. I'm a professional marketer and writer and business communicator. I hate writing email subject lines because I get all up in my head about them, about trying to find the perfect little crafting of words that go in there. ChatGPT can be really helpful in this way. But my absolute dire warning to each and every one of you, if using an LLM to help you craft any of your messages, is that you do not use whatever that AI tool gives you as the final edition of your message or your subject line or your LinkedIn outreach, because it's not human. You are. It's not you. Only you are. And so you need to make that email, that voicemail, that LinkedIn outreach, that Threads message, that conference hello. That's the first impression you get to make of who you are. And since the interview is going to be with you and not an LLM, you need to be able to set that consistency up so that the expectations are met at every touch point of getting to deal with you. That is a privilege and a little victory point for all of those people who are going to get to have a conversation with you. Yes, you get to have a conversation with them, and that's great. But you're the prize here as well. And don't hand that off to an LLM to do that communication for you. Take what it gives you and use that as a first draft, and then make it your own so that you can actually send it and you can have the good conversation as you go along with that. So when I threw in a question to ChatGPT and said, write me some subject lines, it gave me 10 in under 30 seconds. And I wouldn't use any of these directly, but all 10 give me something to play with and have a little fun with and see. They're not how I would have naturally written something, but it gives me something to bounce off of. So like exploring collaborations, insights from an industry expert. We are not collaborating. There's nothing to collaborate on. So that's not a word I would necessarily use in the subject line, but I like where this is going with the energy. So I can play around with that one. Requesting expertise, a conversation opportunity. Let's be fair, opportunity is a little one-sided at this point. It's more of an opportunity for you than them. That might be a little strong since you're asking all the questions. It's not so much of a two-way conversation. So again, we can play around with that one, but you get the sense of what's possible, 30 seconds. Now you have something creative to work with. But as we also saw with all the poems, those first lines, a lot of them had a similarity because if you're all using ChatGPT, for instance, it has a particular cadence and way with words. If you're all using Copilot, it has a particular way. And so you want to get comfy and play around with how you prompt anything and then reiterate on how you do any revisions to those content pieces as well, so that it's you, so that it's not the same introductions or starts feeling too AI familiar for people out in the market. We're getting bombarded with AI written messages and LLM written messages right now. The sameness is starting to be a taste that you can pick up on pretty quick when it's coming through. What we want for each and every one of you is to stand out as the brilliant individuals that you are, so that you can stand out in those conversations and those interviews and make progress on your entrepreneurial ambitions. So we're going to do some practice. We're going to write a draft email outline. Pull out any paper, pens, or note-taking apps that you have on your computer. Your challenge, 5-minute timer, is being set, is to write a draft outline. Pick one of the instructors from your CRM right now of who you want to write this email to, centered on getting an interview. You do not need to write the full email. This does not need to be polished perfect. We're going to do that next. This is just give yourself a good, juicy outline. You've got the 6 sections noted here for you. Start writing down your thoughts of how you would do this. What is your salutation? What is your subject line? What is the ask? What is the scheduling that you'd like to do? It's Wednesday now. Let's assume you're sending this email tonight. When are you going to schedule this? How are you signing off? 5 minutes. Go. Pop any.
Said and didn't go very well.
Mhm.
So we went back to him, said, yeah, your thing, it's not what you claimed of. And, from that point on, they're not so friendly anymore.
Mhm.
And turns turns the way around, but still we are evaluate them as a potential partner.
Mhm.
And so, this difficult situation, what should I say or what should I do email wise to get, like, gain back the trust, gain back the friendship?
Ooh, that is a pickle. Um,
Longer conversation, eh?
that is a longer conversation.
I think this is a good one to spend drop-in support hours on
Yeah,
and invite Leah into the conversation, or just book a mentor meeting with Leah to,
yeah,
because
let's do
I
that.
think this is not something you can resolve. This is a bad news email that you want to turn around. So
Yeah, that is a bigger play. I would also say in the short term of that, if there are other folks in that organization that you can talk to that would be valuable to learn from. So let's put partnership to the side and say, what else do we want to learn? What else do we need to know? So is that organization the next best organization to go talking to gather that type of information? Or are there other places that you can get further down the path to market validation and customer segmentation? And then you have more information and more kind of context to go back to that original company with, instead of just trying to like do an aggressive swing and bring it around. If you could go in a little more armed with a bit more market evidence, that might help that conversation go. But yeah, let's book a separate one-on-one, because that's a pickle that a lot of folks find themselves in. But
Okay.
it takes a bit more nuance than we have time for right now. But
Right. Thank you.
great
I'll
question to be asking. Is the point on that.
bottom line, people want to be understood and listened to. So that's the first step, is to posture yourself for listening and understanding their side.
All right, how is the draft outline going? The value of the conversation. Because again, the email can't carry everything. Asking these outreach pieces to carry more than they should is setting them up for failure and setting yourself up for setbacks. All of this is in effort to get the interview, to have the conversation. And there you get to be your dazzling, wonderful self, who's brilliant, by the way, with cool ideas and working on cool projects. Like, that's the prize. And so the value demonstration you're looking to get at is teasing you and your idea and your authority in this space out a little bit, that they're going to get something out of this as well. And so that might be kind of the, I'm a researcher in the lab at XYZ University working on this. And so it kind of teases out a little bit of like, something interesting is happening in there. With all of you working in labs, that's a really private space that most of us never get to see into. We don't know what happens in research labs and universities. That's not y'all don't have the best of the PR of like what's going on in there, unless there's this massive breakthrough that gets kind of touted around. But great things are happening every single day. Breakthroughs and ideas and innovation and discovery, even in setback, is happening every day. Brilliance is happening every day. And so that's part of that, as you kind of get a little more confident in your communication skills, demonstrating that value out a little bit, that this is not a one-sided exchange. Yes, you're taking their time and you're gathering information that only they can give you, but only you can give them something back as well. And so there's a little value in that. And so over time, that's what's really getting at the value. It's the conversation with you. And then once you're in the interview and they naturally ask, what's all this about? Then you can get into those value demonstration points a bit more as well. But just tease up that like, you're all worth talking to. Don't forget that. All right. That's our 5 minutes there. I hope that went okay, because part 2 is writing with an AI tool. So go back into your LLM if you so choose, and write a prompt. This is kind of practicing the prompt writing for email, and where you'll see some of that sameness come out across the board with everyone. Go back and ask it to revise. Go back and give it instruction that it's a professional business communicator. Let it know that. And it will give you a slightly varied output in what that is. But write a prompt for a detailed outline to a professional asking for a conversation on the topic of your choice. And again, you're looking for the categories, like what is the subject line it would give you. part of it. But let's quickly jump over to some social media stuff. So the point of social media in your interactions, there's been a lot of talk about reaching out on LinkedIn. There's a variety of spaces, but LinkedIn tends to be a kind of our catch-all when we talk about business social media. The point of social media is the connection. It's supposed to have meaning and it's supposed to be relevant. This is not people collecting. And I've heard people say that your network is your net worth, and I could not disagree more strongly. You are your work. You are your worth, and you get to decide what that worth is. So don't worry about the size of your network and how many connections you have. Curate for value to you and value that you can contribute. So where do we even go to find interviews and connections? As an earlier question was, this is kind of the question of like, how do I start out and who do I reach out to early on in companies? Start with who you want to be building connections with. So really think about, you don't know who the individuals are yet, but you have a sense of who might be working with this product that you're working on or this service, of who has this problem. What brought you to solving this problem, and who has that? And that's kind of where we want to start with things. And then we ask ourselves, okay, if I know this kind of grouping of people is who might be the best fit for what I'm working on, then we ask ourselves the question, well, where on earth are they? Where do they go? And the next question, once you answer that, is, do you actually want to be there? I have seen more professionals burn out on LinkedIn, on Threads, on Instagram, on TikTok this year alone, because the systems are changing and values are changing and content is changing and people are tired. And so my message to all of you as a professional marketer is go where it makes you happy to be, because that's where you'll put in your best work. Try spaces out. They don't have to be the right fit for you, but go and try it and then bounce out if you don't like it. Ask in your interviews. A great question to make sure that you include in every interview you have is to ask where they go. Where do they like to gather? Where do they go for industry news and updates? Who are the voices and personalities they're listening to? You'll find podcasts, you'll find forums, you'll find threads in threads. You'll find LinkedIn private groups. You'll find publications and conferences that you would never have found on your own. Just ask people where they go. They're usually pretty excited to let someone in on a cool podcast or forum that they're participating in. You're going to discover this along the way. Again, there's no go into the grocery store, pick out all the answers of where you want to go, fill your cart, and Bob's your uncle. You have to discover this. Little breadcrumbs will be dropped for you along the way of social media. Starting with professional associations is a great place and desperately underutilized by students in this program. Start with your professional associations. If you have a designation, there is an association for that. If it's provincially regulated, there's an association for that. If it's done in international trade, there's an association for that. Those are places that have members, they have newsletters, they have podcasts, they have social media channels, they have networks and meetups and webinars and lunch and learns and social gatherings and clubs everywhere. They're great. And they're always interested in bringing on new folks and sharing connections and connecting people. That's their whole job. So look for associations, and you can usually find some pretty cool contacts that way. Explore LinkedIn. There'll be more on this throughout the program of how to use its search functionality really creatively and cleverly, not just to build connections, but just to do some research on the back end as well. Check out Threads. It just launched in the European market, so there is a groundswell of experts and industry professionals now playing in there, having really great conversations about cool emerging tech and challenges and big picture ideas that are floating all about. It's the fastest moving platform right now. Go to conferences. You have extra money as part of this program that you can pay for conference registrations to. If there's a conference that you're like, oh, if I could just go there, I could get so many great conversations and meet so many great people. Go to it. That's awesome. That's a great way to make connections. In all cases, to Saeed's earlier question about how formal, how not formal, in all cases, just be cool. Just be yourself. Don't go running up to people, waving your arms about your own tech and asking their opinions on it on the spot. You want to demonstrate your value. You want to share your knowledge, not preach at someone, but exchange with them. Participate in conversations. Observe politely. If you don't want to jump into the conversation yet, observe politely. LinkedIn, for particular, has a great function now where you can follow people without having to fully connect with them. Ask to connect people, give a reason why it's worth their while. And this is my particular LinkedIn finger waggle. I am setting a rule for you that you are not allowed to send a blank LinkedIn connection request to anybody. That is my rule for you. If you break it, I won't know, but I'm setting that for you as well. You want to include a message with this. When you try to connect with me, if you don't send me with a message, I'm not connecting with you. Because this is context setting, especially if you're on LinkedIn and you're growing your network out there. There are so many bots pretending to be people that people are getting a little more choosy in who they invite into their networks. And so the simplest sentence of, hey, I was reading your paper. I really love the insight, would love to connect. Boom. Hey, I saw your content. I've really enjoyed your perspective, would love to connect. Boom. Hey, I'm new to the industry, looking to get some different perspectives, have been really intrigued by what you're sharing, would love to connect. Done. These aren't paragraphs. You've got like 50 words you need to throw down, but just anchor me in some context of why on earth you are reaching out to me and what this connection point might be, because people share all sorts of different things on various channels, and helping people kind of narrow in why you're here just helps set the value of what you're hoping to contribute and helps me clue into what content you might be posting, because once we're connected, I'm going to start seeing your stuff too. But be social. When we are talking about cold outreach, emails are one side of things. You're going to have to make phone calls, folks. And for some people, that's the cruelest words that I could utter in this program, is that you're going to have to make some phone calls. I personally hate making phone calls and avoid them at all costs, which is why I have loved this back when it was officially called Twitter, not X, this particular tweet that crossed a feed. And it was from a reporter friend asking, any advice for steeling yourself before making a difficult phone call? And Pamela, a real journalist at a real outlet, replied, I write a script, I dry heave, and then I call. And then I'm a little relieved when they don't pick up. And the part I want you to focus on here is the script writing portion of that, not so much the dry heaving and panic that comes along with it, but the script writing. There's this crazy thing that happens to each and every one of us, that we leave our bodies temporarily when we hear that little like beep of a voicemail. You will forget who you are. You will forget how to speak. You will forget why you've called. And the first sound on that voicemail recording will be you going, right, it's Leah. And that's just not how we want to start. We've lost 30 seconds of our pitch here. So when we're talking about leaving a voicemail, having a script is your secret weapon in here. This is going to save you every single time. And it takes the form of your email outline and just makes it even a little shorter and kind of reorganizes some of the features. So you get your greeting and you get your intro and you've got your value and your ask kind of in there, and then your sign off. And we're like through this. So like a breezy, write down your script. It could be something like, hello, whatever their name is. This is Leah. I'm calling to see if you're available for a short chat this week or next. So we've got the greeting, my name, and the ask in there in one sentence, and we're set. Then we need to give them a little bit of context about who on earth I am and why on earth I'm calling. So I'm a University of Manitoba student currently in the Lab2Market program. I'm exploring how algae is used in your particular line of work. As you are the director of innovation for your organization, I really thought you might have some interesting experiences and you might be open to sharing with me. So now we've set kind of the intro and the context details have been established. Again, 2 sentences, and we're talking fast on this voicemail. We get into the actual details of scheduling. Open for a 20-minute chat. I'd really appreciate it. You can reach me at, I give you my phone number or I give you my email. I'll follow up in a few days. Thanks so much. So we start off and we just take the whole email and just kind of jam it in to a much smaller thing. You're going to want to have that written down, and you're going to want to have practiced that in the mirror, practiced it to your pet, practiced it to a family member or a friend, because I see it time and time again, even with a script. We forget how to talk. You hear the beep and something happens deep within your soul that causes you that moment of panic before you click back into yourself and go, oh no, I'm fully capable of talking and doing this. It happens to everyone. It will happen to you. And so we rip that Band-Aid in Bootcamp so that it doesn't happen to you during the core program when you're in a real groove of moving through all of these conversations. So we are at time for this. And I don't want to take into your break. So we are going to have a little pause here, and I will jump over to the actual homework assignment for you. The homework assignment that comes along with this script writing business is in your workbooks, there is an assignment called writing email scripts and voicemail scripts. What I want you to do for this is remember that every writer, every single writer in the world will tell you the same piece of information. And it is that every single first draft is bad. That's why they're first drafts. This is your first bad draft. We're going to write it together in our homework assignments, and I will leave you feedback on it tonight. This is where we get the bad out of the way. This is, conversely, this is a gem. If you do decide to pursue entrepreneurship, this is a gem email to keep for your biographer some days. This was the first one. This is the first bad draft you put out into the world. So have some fun with this. Use your script outline from the email that you wrote today. Combine it with the one if you did the LLM and you liked what it gave you. Combine that together. Write your first bad draft. Take the same approach and write a script for leaving a voicemail message. That's how short and sweet you want it. This presentation will be up on Notion, so you'll be able to see all the samples, but that's how we want you to think about this. Get first bad drafts out. Take 15 minutes to write each of them. And then you have something to actually build off as you move forward with this. And so that's the challenge for those assignments. Does anyone have any questions? I will stop that share so I can see all of your lovely faces. Oh, now there's no questions. Okay. It's like we asked all the great questions during the session. All right. Okay,
All
well
right.
then I free you to go take a break.
So I'm going to borrow 5 minutes from this break. So we'll make it a 10-minute break.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you 5 minutes into the lunch hour, Leah, so that you can, if you need it. And then that way we will compensate for the extra 10 minutes here. And no harm, no foul. This is never a perfect science, this Zooming stuff. So
Well, no, I
go
just
take a
love all the
break for 10
questions.
minutes. Be back for 11. Let's go 11:25, and that'll give you 12 minutes. And then we'll continue from there.
Perfect. Thanks, Dee. And if any of you have questions, pop them in the chat at any point today. Send them to me on Slack. You can put them, tag me if you're putting it in general, or send me a private message on Slack. I'm always here to answer questions because I know we moved through that really fast today. But great questions so far. Happy
Thanks so
break.
much, Leah. We'll put on the timer for everybody.
It's so exciting. We're talking about networking now. Ugh. Though we didn't move fast enough through the last stuff, we're going faster in this one. But it's going to be good. It's going to be, what am I looking for? Nope, not that one. This one. Here, there we go. Welcome back. We are doing Networking 101. A big part of this program is about building out that network. And so you've got the CRM and we're filling it full of interesting things. And then we send out our emails and we make our phone calls and we build connections on LinkedIn, and that's going really well. And then we start having the actual conversations, and that feels good. And it's going to feel so exciting once you start getting them and they're coming in. And then you're going to go to these conferences, or you're going to go to meetups, or you're going to go to Zoom rooms and Remo and talk to folks at North Forge. And we kind of get into this networking space and we say, oh no, no, I have to network now. And it's not something that everybody loves, but it's definitely something that gets, for many people, a lot better with time and exposure. And for some people, wonderfully less bad. It's the most you can really, like, that's the goal that they're aiming for, is just less bad. And so wherever you find yourself on the spectrum of networking, know that it's clunky and awkward for absolutely everybody when they're starting out. It's clunky and awkward for most people at some point during the middle of their careers when they've been doing this for a while. But you'll find your own ways of adapting. You'll find your own little tricks and tools. I had someone tell me recently it felt like they were putting on their extrovert mask and going out into the crowd to chat with people. And they have recovery systems for when they get home. It's quiet, they light a candle, they might play their video game or take their pet for a walk. Like, it's, you'll find your own little like re-energized systems if this is something that takes a lot out of you. But there's ways that we can start building this up. And so that's what today is all about, networking. This is literally the 101 crash course into this. So networking, I loved this quote from entrepreneur.com, very fitting for the group, but that networking is a personal exercise. And it's a personal exercise in sharing your stories and idea and active listening with a dash of vulnerability. And that's a tall order. But if we think about it that way, It feels much more, in my opinion, approachable and rewarding to go through than looking at it as something where I'm going out to collect business cards or like up my score in how many people I can meet and will know my name. This feels like a nicer space to play in. It's much more conversational. It's much more organic as you look at moving this forward. And in 2024, the digital networking will be essential to any networking strategy. How you present online is what counts now. We're getting back into increasingly in-person experiences. It's super fun for some people. It's not for others. And you can play and mix, again, just like in social media, go where it makes you happy to be, network in a way that makes you happy to do this, because it will be a better experience for you and it will be a better experience for everyone who gets the chance to meet you because you're in your place of comfort and power and authority and confidence and all those good things. But your best qualities, you do need to develop ways to transmute those through video. So part of that is us asking you to keep your cameras on at all times. Part of that is you'll see through watching YouTube clips or attending conferences or watching other speakers and going to webinars, how people present online. You'll find your own groove. You'll be doing enough Zoom interviews that you will find your own groove in this as well. But when we talk about camera setup and lighting and sound and textural backgrounds, you'll find what works well for you. But there are some kind of table stakes that you want to consider in terms of how you're set up so that you can be in a place that's really comfortable for you to have that conversation. Because that's what comes through in video so clearly is, are you comfortable or do you look so painfully uncomfortable in this space? Because when you're uncomfortable in a social setting that is public and in the physical world and you're out at a network, there's enough other people and noise happening that you aren't as noticeable. When it's just on a screen, you can really zero in and see somebody, which puts all the more pressure on it. So we're going to talk today about how we can kind of shake up, get loose, and feel a little bit better with this whole process. So the big question that happens every time anybody goes networking anywhere, the first question that you will run into like a brick wall is, so what do you do? And that can be a loaded question. That can be a really complicated one to answer, especially in high-end academics like you are all in. Where do we even begin? And how do we answer that question? And who are we even talking to? And what do they need to know? The answer that you must give needs to be truthful, it needs to be interesting, and it needs to be succinct, because no one's here for your TED Talk. If you aren't sure where to actually start, break down your story. And this will be all part of the reflection and work that you go through in this process, kind of perfecting those elevator pitches, billboard speeches, who am I biographies. Start thinking about these things as you're writing a LinkedIn biography, as you're putting a profile up on a conference or an association, or you look at kind of how your lab might list you as a staff member there. What product or service are you working on? Because let's be clear, you do not have businesses at this point in time, nor do you have a market-ready technology necessarily. So what are you working on right now? How are you different than what's already out there? There has to be something unique about you. You have to be doing something a little bit differently or for somebody different or reconceiving something. None of you are out here with a carbon copy of something that already exists, because that would be a copyright infringement. That would be a trademark infringement. That would be IP infringement. So what is actually making you different about that? Zero in on that difference. That's special. And then what problem are you actually working to solve? Let's take ourselves out of the technology or innovation for a hot second here and say, what is the problem someone is experiencing that I'm trying to help them solve? And then this tool plugs into that story. So those are some ways that when someone says, so what do? You can think about it this way. Another way to approach it, great series that you can find on YouTube if you're ever looking for kind of some creative inspiration, is explain it to me like I'm 5. And that can feel weird to do and a little basic and a little demotivating, a little disrespectful even at times of explain this to me, but like try explaining what you're doing, why you're doing that, or what problem it's solving to a really smart 10-year-old. I've heard some people genuinely like light up with enthusiasm. They use words like it's a little bit of magic, or it feels special, or we have explosions. You use different language when you're talking to kids than you do when you talk to adults. And you just can be more excited about things when you're talking to kids. So if you're stuck on what do you do, imagine you're telling it to a smart 10-year-old who's super into science. And how would you explain with the enthusiasm that's carried you this far what it is you're actually doing? Once you've answered the so what do you do question, the next most natural question that you will be confronted with is why. And so you'll hear a lot about Simon Sinek and his why. You'll hear Apple as a brand be used a lot about getting at the why we do this, and this big emotional resonance, this change the world attitude we have at the heart of why we're doing some things. You don't have to have anything that, I mean, it's great if you do have something that big. That's awesome. Tell your why. But why you do something does not have to be world changing. Why can be because you love this, and then talk about why you love this. Why can be because it was such a cool opportunity to try something and solve a problem that's been bothering you for a long time, that you saw this growing up, you saw this in your professional career, you saw an opportunity and said, we can actually make a difference. I can make a difference. And that seemed really cool to you. You remember having this wonderful experience at some point in your life, and it sparked this idea, and you thought, maybe we can answer that question. But get into what brought you into this. Why did you end up at your university in a lab creating something new? That's interesting. It wasn't because it was just like, I guess I'm here. I'm guessing all of you were brought into this for something a little more deep and meaningful. Really spend some time thinking about what that is, because those stories are really powerful moments for you to build connections with other people when you're out in a corporate business networking skill. And every business person's favorite question to ask when in doubt is, so what do you do? That's the first question you will get asked. Who are you and what do you do? And so having interesting answers to that can really help kind of build your confidence and open doors for new conversations and connections. Business is really personal at this stage because you don't have a business. You might not even by the end of this program want to start one. Perfectly wonderful outcome of this program is you going, this is not for me. I want to go back to the lab. I want to innovate. I want to be a researcher. Chef's kiss brilliance, if that's the path you want to take. What you have right now, in absence of a business, is you. You are the whole idea that is going out and networking at this stage. So be yourself. Show your enthusiasm. Enthusiasm and passion for work is having a resurgence. Everyone is on board. When you're excited about the work you're doing, when you're excited about the change or the challenges, and you want to take that with a really positive attitude, that's contagious right now. And people are drawn to that to have more conversation and want to dig into this. This person seemed jazzed about what they're up to. That's what we remember more than the details of the conversation itself. So be curious with others. If you aren't feeling confident enough to be vulnerable, to be enthusiastic, to get into a conversation about what you do, tee them up for success. Ask questions instead and listen really attentively. That's that active listening component to see what this conversation can be about and to see what you can learn about the people that you're networking with. And then over time, you'll feel a little more comfortable getting into conversation and supplying your side of the, so what do you do and why? So we're going to practice this. We're going to go out and have a little networking exercise. Amanda is popping this into the chat. We are going to leave Zoom and go over to the Remo networking space. And we have two sets of activities that are going to happen over there. We have set the room up for you with a series of tables. One set of the tables are labeled A and then have a topic to them, and a set of tables are labeled B and have a topic to them. We're going to start with A and go to B. That feels like a pretty straightforward process for all of you to handle. And so what we're going to do, the goal of this activity is to practice moving about a room. So Remo networking spaces like we're using here, popular and common way to do virtual networking that a lot of organizations are using. If it's not this one, it's something pretty similar, and you'll find it at a lot of conferences happening now as well. So we're going to practice just some technical skills, moving about a room. I want you to drop in and out of tables with topics that interest you, topics you would like to talk about, such as there's a foodie table. Do you love cooking or eating? That table might be for you. You might find like-minded people at that table. Drop in and out of conversations. The art of dropping into and out of a table is something that you'll practice and get really good at. That's how you kind of slide into a conversation and pick up wherever they are. Your goal in this first part of moving through the table A's, you don't have to go to all of them, just go to the ones that interest you as a topic, are to find 3 people in this cohort who you share something in common with. And I want you to find 3 people who introduce you to something new. Wouldn't that be interesting? None of this involves your technology. None of this involves your academic career. None of this involves your university. You're just being lovely people, and you're going to go chat with each other. Then we're going to flip it, and we're going to go to the section B. So you're going to go 15 minutes. I'll make an announcement when it's time to change up. Then we're going to switch to the table Bs. These ones are all more business themed and a little more scientific storytelling themed. Same process. You're going to practice moving in and out of tables. You're going to be looking for commonalities and just having conversation with some different folks within this cohort. You all know each other. We can do this. Your job in this case is to introduce yourself and focus on what you love and why you love doing this work. And your report back on this one is to find out who in this cohort captured your attention the most. When talking enthusiastically about things you might work on or subjects related to the business community, who got your attention? And what were you like, oh, I liked how they talked about that. That's the mission. So I'm going to stop my share. I'm going to answer any questions before we scoot over. Questions? 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 No questions. Okay, we're going to have 15 minutes for each of the chats. You'll hear an announcement from me. Dimitri's going to stay here. Not that we don't love him networking. He's going to stay here in case any of us get stranded. If you get bumped out of Remo, come back here and Dimitri will get you back over to where you need to be and everything will work out great. So
Zoom, and I will also be in Remo. So
perfect.
I will be watching Zoom for anybody who finds a blocker in some way getting into it. Like, you know, we say tech, there's always Murphy's Law kicking in at some point. We never know what could happen. I'm assuming that we did our job right and you'll all be in there and having fun. But if you get stuck, come back to the Zoom room and I'll advise and see if we can get you back. Sometimes it's just a matter of trying to get in again. So if you get kicked out, go back in. If something's not working, go out, come back in.
Perfect. All right. 3, 2, 1, the link's in the chat. Scoot yourselves over to Remo. You're looking for tables with A as the first one, and you have 15 minutes. Just go make friends. Get to know each other. That's what this is all about. Find people, 3 people you have something in common with, 3 people who you're like, didn't know. That's cool. I'll see you there.
Give your name for the profile. You don't have to give any other details, and you're
perfect.
Yeah, just basic, just your name. Don't worry about like creating, putting your picture or anything like that or additional details, just the bare minimum. Remember your login information too, because that's what you will be using for any of the future social sessions. If you have any questions, again, Dimitri will be in this room or he'll be able to help, but we're going to scoot over to the other room. So we'll see you there soon.
How did that go for y'all at the tables having conversations? Did we meet people in this room who we share things in common with? And did we learn anything cool and new? The thumbs up. Yes, yes, smiles. I know, Garrett, that you have a dog named Freya with floppy ears, and I love it. So you just post all the pictures of her on the Slack channel, and that's, you know what, that's the rule for everybody. If you have a pet, you put those pet photos on Slack because we all need to see them. That's how that's going to go. You have a homework assignment coming out of this networking too, and I promise it's not painful. So when you go into your homework book this evening, after you have finished writing a terrible first draft of an email script that you will laugh at one day with your biographer and a terrible first draft of a voicemail script that you will laugh with your biographer, and I leave you such lovely and supportive comments about how we can make that 10% better for next time, you are going to move over to the next activity that's called networking reflections. And just like we started the day with the poetry corner, we're going to end the day on networking reflections. And this is just where you're going to be kind to yourself and you're going to make some notes. And this is where we start to say, like, what did I actually enjoy about that? Because it's really easy to forget about the things that you actually enjoyed when they're kind of swamped in with some stuff you didn't like so much. So you're going to write down the things that you liked. You're going to write down some notes for yourself about what you'd like to work on and improve 10% better next time around, because you're going to be going back to that Remo room to network a bunch throughout the course of this program, and you'll meet lots of great people. So it might be on how you slide in and out of tables. It might be questions you like to ask. You might have one like banger of a question that you find works great to get people to open up every single time. Write it down for yourself. See how that goes. That's what the activity for tonight actually is. And I will be going in and adding little cheerful notes and thumbs up and congratulations, because this is a big deal. You're doing this all for the first time, and it might feel funny and it might feel a little weird to come into this. And it's probably weird to have some woman out of Halifax cheering you on for writing an email, but gosh darn it, that's what I'm going to do, because someone needs to cheer you on. You're doing something brand new and different than usual. And part of the discomfort comes with celebrating the milestones along the way as well. That's a secret of entrepreneurship that not enough people talk about. It's a little lonely, and you get really good at congratulating yourself because you're bringing your own cake to the conference room to celebrate the wins of all sizes, and the wins of all sizes matter. So I am thrilled at all of you and the work you've put in this morning. We have an awesome Meet Your Mentors this afternoon. They're kick-ass people. I'm very excited for you to meet them after lunch. If you were not keen and didn't do this before now, this is your chance to do this assignment over the lunch break. We're going to play a round of 20 questions with the mentors. The secret to this game is that one question cannot be repeated by any of you. So I will randomly be pulling names from a hat to decide the order that you will go in. If the question you had burning in your heart is asked before it gets to you, you best have a second one ready to go. Because if you ask a repeat, I'm throwing you back in the pool and you can come up with something new. If you have been on the Notion page, there are questions you can ask the mentors written on the Notion page. Now, recognize that 13 other people might have gone to the Notion page to also collect those same questions, and you might want to come up with some new ones. You might also open up an LLM and ask it, what would I ask an industry mentor as an interesting question to get to know them? But play in a space where you're saying you're going to meet a bunch of really cool people who are working in the field. What do you want to know to start figuring out if they're the person you should be having conversations with or not? That's how I would put this to you. And we're going to have some fun getting to know some really lovely people after the lunch break. So if you haven't written down your questions, write yourself 5. Just jot down 5 questions because I'm going to be picky about repetition. Like that's my prerogative. I've been caffeinated and I'm going to do that. And we're going to have fun after that. So you guys get an hour-long lunch break, stretch your legs, eat some food, play with your pets because they're all the best good boys and girls. Say hi to your kids or high five a colleague, depending on where you are. And know that you crushed it this morning. And I'm proud of each and every one of you. And we will see you back after lunch for an awesome networking with our mentors.
We should be back for 1 o'clock promptly because that's when every other mentors will probably be arriving as well. So you want to pop in around 1 o'clock. If you're a little late, that's okay, but be ready to be picked on. I like that you would have 3 general questions to the whole group of mentors. And if you are going to pop in on the Notions portal, mentor portal, you can devise questions to specific mentors that you're really interested in, but don't be surprised if some of the other ones decide to answer as well. All right, you're off for lunch. See you later.
An awesome crew. This is a really awesome crew. We've had really great questions. I am very excited to see the questions you are all about to bring here today and meet this exceptional collective of mentors that we have. So this really cool part of Lab2Market is the mentorship component to it. And we talk about this as kind of building out your network and what this can all mean and knowing where to start and how this works. And it feels like we're trying to catch Pokemon somehow and collect people. The magic of mentors is this program gives you an opportunity to meet people. Not everyone is a perfect fit for everyone, and that's perfectly okay. You're going to be drawn to some expertise and experiences more than others. That's why it's structured as kind of a mentor pool. It's so that you can find the places that you're happiest to play in and ideally find mentors that can help you along the way. Again, just kind of collecting these little nuggets as we go. No one has the complete answer for you. No one has a silver bullet to solve all your entrepreneurial problems. But if you're asking interesting questions, if you're trying to stay as focused as you can on the very specific challenge that is in front of you and being very clear with yourself about what it is you want to learn and what it is you're trying to understand, these brilliant folks who have been out there in this real world of business and entrepreneurship and innovation and startup space all bring in part of this really rich tapestry. And so when we talk about building out your network, it starts in this program, it grows from here, but you're now all connected. Cohort 5, you're officially part of the family, and now you're all connected in a much larger Lab2Market experience and kind of collective that exists out here. And one day you may be the Daniel who comes back as a mentor to talk about experiences and what this can be. So they've all been through what you're doing now. It's the short answer to that and how we can go through. So the way we have structured this little meet and greet with these lovely folks is, as you know, you've been challenged to come up with some questions. Mentors, no duplicate questions are being tolerated. So I have spent the lunch hour on a random number generator, selecting the order you will be posed questions by these lovely, ambitious faces. They do not know the order yet. No one's allowed to ask a duplicate question, so they will be digging deep to ask something interesting. They might be directed to one of you in particular. I will open the floor for all of you to answer those as well. But to get us started, hey, Wendy, to get us started as folks are coming in, As lovely mentors, can you just quickly go around and introduce yourself and what kind of, yeah, just introduce yourself. Floor is yours. And we'll start with Nerman because you're the first on my screen.
Sure. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Nermin Saad. I am a mechanical engineer by profession, and I'm also a serial entrepreneur. I have started 2 businesses in the Middle East region, and now I'm starting my 3rd one here in Canada. I work at North Forge. It's a business incubator and accelerator. And I run the international programs at North Forge, and I'm having fun with all international startups who are eager to come to Canada, and I enjoy my time in here, and I'm super excited to meet you all. And this is a brief about me.
Stellar. Thank you so much. Daniel, you are next on my screen. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Yeah, my name is Daniel Heschuk. I'm from the University of Manitoba Science Innovation Hub. My role is to get science students and, well, really any STEM students excited and interested in the world of entrepreneurship and what it can do for them. There are so many really great ideas that show up in the Faculty of Science, Faculty of Engineering, agriculture, all these different faculties. And oftentimes people have these great ideas, but don't know how to implement them. And so I'm trying to introduce them to the world of entrepreneurship and the crazy, awesome ecosystem that exists within it. A little bit about me, I just finished my master's degree in the at the University of Manitoba, working with mosquitoes. I did a Lab2Market project working on soybeans, and now I landed myself in this really super cool, awesome role working with students here at the Faculty of Science.
And you won a pitch
Amazing.
competition, I heard too.
Yes, yes. So little shameless plug right now, we have a $3,000 pitch competition that we will be having take place this semester, March 29th. Applications are due on February 4th, and it is an opportunity for you to test out your pitch skills and try to sell your business idea for the chance to win $3,000. So really great payday, potentially is in your future if you want to sign up.
Okay, as a marketer, stellar plug. That's approved. Thank you so much. Andrew, over to you.
Sure. So I have a PhD from the University of Western Ontario in biotechnology. Came here about 6 years ago to do research at the Children's Hospital. So my background is really on sort of commercialization and strategies to bring technologies from the lab to the bench side, or from the engineering space into in a space that can have real world impact. So my role as tech transfer manager at the University of Manitoba is to support those initiatives, as well as to guide IP strategy for those that do have technology that they want to bring to the market. So I'm looking forward to working with everyone, and all the best.
Fabulous. Thank you, Andrew. Ben, lovely to meet you. The floor is yours.
Hello, hello. So, hi everyone. My name is Ben Isaacov, and I'm a startup coach with Stu Clark Center for Entrepreneurship, business consultant, mechanical engineer. Never worked as a mechanical engineer though, but I understand you guys. Quality assurance, continuous improvement, and process operations management professional. And yeah, so I like to say that my superpower is to see everything as a sequence of different process steps and identify which one of them are not working with other. So my role with Stu Clark is to help ignite entrepreneurial mindset with students and help us start businesses pretty much to improve our lives and to get our economy better, right? So please reach out, stop by to say hello, and we will continue from there.
Magical. Thank you so much. Wendy, lovely to see you. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Lian. Wow, hello everyone. I'm Wendy Yan. I'm the Senior Business Development Manager for Futurepreneur, which is a national nonprofit organization to support young entrepreneurs. And yeah, so I have been here for 3 years. My daily work, every day is to talk with local entrepreneurs and helping them and navigate them to different resources and try to understand what they need to help them succeed in their business as a startup. And my background was I had a economics degree in I had a bachelor degree in economics and a master degree in management and a PhD degree in marketing. So I have been teaching marketing courses at University of Manitoba, University of Winnipeg, and Red River College. So yeah, well, very nice to see everyone and look forward to working with everybody. If you need any help, support as a startup, or marketing field, or any question as in entrepreneurship, feel free to reach out.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Corinne, delighted to see you again. The floor is yours for a quick introduction.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. So my name is Karin Bado. I am currently a senior venture analyst at Amiron Ventures, and we basically work with startup founders, international startup founders. I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm a tech founder. So there's many things happening, but I'm very excited to be with you guys. Just bringing a little bit of knowledge, whether it's the field knowledge or the technical knowledge or the business knowledge, just to help you guys navigate this stage of the process with your research project. So
magical. Thank you so much. She is a wealth of knowledge, folks. Book your meetings. Rajiv, it is lovely to meet you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Leah. My name is Rajiv Koyal, and I have been recently appointed to Idea Start as a program manager. It's UFM's latest initiative. The idea is to build a culture of entrepreneurship within the community. And we are like a hub for entrepreneurship activities within And let's say if you want to get connected to anybody, you could be reaching out to us. I do not have an office currently, but operate out of a makeshift Idea Start office at the Center, 100 level. And I'm available every Friday, 10 to 1. You can also reach out to me on email and LinkedIn, though, anytime. My background is basically in entrepreneurship. I have been an entrepreneur for the longest period of time. I've done 3 startups back home in Bangalore, 2 in education technology, 1 in hospitality. I also got an opportunity to lead India's largest startup incubation program called 10,000 Startups. It's been wonderful meeting tech founders and startup founders and helping them navigate through that journey. Prior to that, I've led corporate initiatives, mostly in the education and recruitment and HR services industries. So that's my corporate background prior to that. And I love talking to founders and having a coffee with them and chatting with them. And I love hearing ideas. I used to also lead investor relations back home for my initiative. And I'm also an angel investor. So if you guys have any questions on, let's say, how to validate your ideas, how to find your first paying customers, how to find your funding or anything else, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajiv. Between the sentence of, if you're looking to connect with people, let me know, and I was an angel investor, I think you're about to be inundated with some emails from this cohort. Those might be famous last mentor words. Thank you so much. Atif, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Atif, and I am currently working with Northforge, the incubator, along with Nermeen. I have been an entrepreneur for quite a long time, like many of the others, but one of my superpowers is that I've had a failed startup as well. Out of the 3 that I've done, 2 were successful and 1 failed. Excuse me, I'm not feeling well today, so I have a day off. I'm working from. The failed startup taught me what not to do. And when I meet with entrepreneurs, I actually talk to them of things and habits not to have in your life. And please connect with me, talk to me, and I'll be happy to share the successes and failures of how to, navigate this difficult path of entrepreneurship. Thank you.
That is a superpower indeed, and we will spare your voice as much as we can. I hope you're feeling better soon. Thank you for that. Mavis, welcome back. Over to you.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. I'm Mavis McCrae. I am the director for the Prairie Research Kitchen in Winnipeg, connected to Red River College Polytechnic. Before that, I was 14 years as an independent consultant and former entrepreneur in residence at the Stu Clark Center. My background is in food and agriculture, but also in bioscience. So some of the first business plans and competitions that I went to when I was a student as an MBA was working in conjunction with the National Research Council's Institute for Biodiagnostics, so dealing in medical devices and pharmaceuticals. That's where I first learned the fun educational side of entrepreneurship, being a food scientist. I didn't spend a lot of time there, but eventually went through my own startup with some friends, and also succeeded in failing out of one of those and learning my lessons, which I call my PhD in entrepreneurship. It was more of a slow slide out than a spectacular eruption, but out of that have learned some valuable lessons in that. The one that was successful was the brewery. Two Rivers Brewing Company merged successfully with Fort Garry Brewing Company, and went on to be one of the first three of the microbreweries that sort of stayed in the province. Beyond that, in my day-to-day job as the director of Prairie Research Kitchen, we work with a lot of startup companies, a lot of entrepreneurs on their product development, getting new products to market, understanding consumer demands and market trends. And really in an area of food where Me Too products is very prevalent, we spend a lot of time understanding what the benefit of this new product is and how the consumers will react to that. So I will be relentless in my pursuit with you in terms of tell me what's special about your product, tell me how it's different than the other things, because there's always the ability for the customer to do nothing. So that's I guess if we're talking about superpowers, my superpower to get down to the good details of what makes a new product valuable to the consumer. So yeah, food science, agriculture, a little bit of bioscience is sort of my background. Good to meet everyone.
Thank you so much, Mavis. Wise words and fair warning to all of you on that. What is actually special? And it's not that you care more, though that's important. It's not enough. Last but certainly not least, Sam Swanson, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for dropping in probably 10 minutes late. Had a meeting I couldn't get out of go 10 minutes long, so I came as quick as I could. My name is Sam Swanson. I'm a marketing specialist at Futurepreneur. I specialize with the Indigenous Entrepreneur Startup Program, so focusing on marketing as far as once we get through commercialization products, processes, how do we increase that, increase the output. So in terms of marketing, getting products in front of eyes, I'm definitely happy to help support with that, with the cohort. In terms of my own background that's relevant to Lab2Market, I'd probably start that in 2019. I worked at the Center for Earth Observation Science at University of Manitoba. Some of you may be familiar. I know we have a lot of University of Manitoba students and directors in this program here. So I did 2 years there, and about 1 year into that, I did the Aqua Hacking Lake Winnipeg competition, where we won some seed funding for a AI tool, or a machine learning tool, I should say, for identifying microplastics. We thought that was going to be a product for researchers, and then a little bit more digging through the customer interview process that I know is a big part of Lab2Market here. We started thinking, oh, maybe it's actually for recyclers. And then a little bit more digging after we got through the couple of hundred customer interviews and up to that sort of 1,000 level, that's when we started to realize that what we're probably looking to do here is get the product, the intellectual property to oil and gas sector, venture capital that was working with universities on this project at quite a bigger scale with chemists and all of the resources that we were kind of lacking in our company. So through the process for commercialization, that's really the focus I understand for Lab2Market this session. I've definitely learned a lot through the twists and turns of that process, and I can definitely validate that the process of going through customer interviews and understanding really the market and what are the needs in the market is a big help, and you're very likely to learn new things and maybe find out that the market is a little different or even entirely different than you thought. So through that process and even just working on a peer review research to validate the product through my tax, I had done a little bit of that. So from that point of wrapping up the research for using as validation, for example, right through to marketing the product for growth. I'm happy to connect with people in this program, and I'm really looking forward to see what are the questions, the needs, and find out what little niche I can help support and fit into for it. Thanks.
Amazing. Thank you much. Thank you so much, Sam. And fantastic to know you've been through. We've been scaring them with the sentence of 100 customer interviews. He just said 1,000, folks. That's how many you'll do in your career. It never stops. That's kind of the magic of customer discovery, is that once you get into this space, every entrepreneur will tell you, you're always talking to the customer. You're always trying to learn something new. It never ends. You just find ways to make it really enjoyable and make it really goal-oriented and productive for yourself. So the way this is going to work, I have selected random numbers for all of you and have an order that you will get to ask your question, either to a specific mentor if the heart is burning to ask a specific question to a specific person, or you can direct that question to all of them and I will facilitate our way through the most amazing 9 people who will answer this for us. No duplicate questions. You ask a duplicate and don't have a backup, I'm popping you back in. So you got some time to think of another one. And I've already robbed you of the question, so what do you do? So we are going to start this off. Also, as a side note, they're all very generously suggesting you connect with them on LinkedIn. And if we remember back to this morning, my finger waggle about LinkedIn is that not one of you are going to send these lovely people a contact and contextless LinkedIn connection request. You're going to say who you are and why you'd like to connect with them and remind them that you're part of Lab2Market and not a stranger on LinkedIn who's like, that's neat. So we're going to send little personalized messages that are a part of your homework assignment. That's part of this. Mentors, if you don't get a personalized message request, feel free to decline. They will try again. So our first up in the questions is Ashwata's. And if I pronounce that wrong, I'm terribly sorry. Please correct me.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. But I go by my last name. That's more easier. So Asha.
Asha, perfect. Thank you. The floor is yours for your question.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to meet you all. And my first question would be how to communicate or like reach out to people and describe the idea when the idea is not really available right now, or they know the idea, but they haven't really experienced those solutions yet. So I'm talking about self-driving cars. So we know what is self-driving cars and we have seen different news articles and everything, but it's really hard to explain what I'm trying to design because they haven't experienced it yet. So I'm trying to design accessible interfaces inside the autonomous vehicles so that elderly population can communicate with these cars easily when there is no human driver in it. So when I will interview people, how can I make this easier for them to understand what I try to design because they haven't experienced it yet? Thank you.
Thank you, Asha. Okay, I'm going to open this up to the floor. Do any of you lovely mentors have tips or things you've tried and have worked or have seen work on you to give context to the conceptual at this point in time? Feel free to jump right in if something is coming to mind. Nerman, love it.
Yeah, I would love to have like a quick tip in here. So I believe in that quote that say that a word you can say like a lots of paragraphs about something, but one picture worth more than 1,000 words. So maybe if you could have like a creative designer who could make like a one poster for you, or maybe one, whatever you want to call it, just like to visualize, to make people visualize what you're trying to do with a few notes here and there. And I believe it's going to be simple because it's an amazing idea and it's really worthy to be delivered to people. So just like have a poster or something like that. This is the first thing that came to my mind.
Awesome. Thank you, Mavis.
So a lot of people, and especially the consumers, don't care about the technical side. They care about what it does for you. So if you can describe why you are doing this, so if it improves safety, if it improves responsiveness, if they don't have in fact, if they don't have any kind of experience with these cars, what are their concerns about a self-driving car in terms of control and safety? And so you don't have to get into the detail of anything technical. You have to tell them what that product does for them and then ask their opinion of whether or not that has value to them.
Awesome. Thank you. I love just seeing all the mentor nods. The bobbing has started and it's the nods that are happening here. Atif.
Yeah, it's a good question that you've asked, and I think mentors have covered most of the bases, but I want to add one thing. You might want to divide your questions into two separate sections. One is the problem interview, the other is solution. I'm assuming you've done that already, but you should not be talking about your solution at all. Should be trying to understand what problems, if any, that they're facing, and you should be more concerned about how they interact with the current technology, and whether it is good or bad, challenges or victories, it doesn't matter how they interact. Once you do that, I think you will automatically see where your solution can come in handy for them later. That would be my 2 cents.
Fabulous. Thank you so very much for that very important point. Because yes, none of you yet have full solutions. And the point of the validation is to validate the problems and the market need for solutions before you can say your solution is what they in fact need. Andrew, over to you.
Thank you. So 2 things. So if you're going to be presenting, an abstract idea or something brand new people can't understand, try to find something that you can compare it to. So for example, right, like when you're talking about I don't know, like the Uber for something, for example, or the Google of something. People already know what Uber does, people know what Google does. So by using that connection, it helps you for them to better understand what you're trying to present in a different manner. And the other thing is to tell a story, right? So paint me a picture of why I would use your technology, or paint me a picture of why your technology is necessary. And that would oftentimes, give people a better understanding of not only the problem, but also the solution and how it's going to be implemented. So that'll hopefully give you a good picture to paint.
Fabulous. Sam, I'm going to get you to hold just so we can go on to the next one, but I will make a note that Sam has an answer for Asha as we come back around. Asha, that is a fantastic question to kick off the day. The bar has been set, folks. And so we're going to move on to Miriam. You are lucky number 2 early on in the question asking.
Okay, thank you everyone for being here and helping us in our journey. So my question to you, to all of you, of course, are what are the challenges that faces you and how you work on it and solve it in order to continue in what you are doing, guys?
Ooh, I like this. Where are we finding the motivation, the resilience, the problem solving? How do you keep going? Is there any in particular? Sam, actually, would you like, I'm going to put you on the spot because you were the last one with the hand up, but if you'd like to tackle that, you have the floor first. If you'd like, no, Leah, that's okay. How do you keep going?
Maybe there's two answers. One of them is one you might not want to hear, and the other one is maybe a little bit more helpful. I think the first one is you really do need to have an internal drive, a real, maybe starting with the belief in the product, and that what you're doing is meaningful to you. I think that a lot of the times when people lose ambition or motivation for something, it tends to be the things that lack that connection, that personal connection. But the second thing I think is the more you have a sense of product market fit, and drive toward that, the more you can see the light at the end of the tunnel for the product succeeding. So this whole program, this particular section of Lab2Market, to me is really about understanding the product market fit. You have your product, you know what you're working on. What is the market? How do you fit into that market? The more you're hearing, yes, this is going to improve our processes, whatever your product is, from people, that's really motivating. And so I think you do need to begin by having that internally. It can be a lot easier to work somewhere, collect a paycheck, and have your tasks be handed down from up above, as opposed to with entrepreneurship where you're really driving things. So there does need to be an internal motivation for sure, but also just passion with what you're doing and hearing that product market fit. Those would be my first being put on the spot.
Excellent answering for being put on the spot. Thank you very much. Ben, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, so I'm looking on it a little bit on like I agree with Sam absolutely on the more detailed, but a little bit touching on the previous question. You always start with why. Why do you do what you do, right? And previous mentors spoke about not focusing on the solution, but focusing on the problem first. And I don't remember who told me, but I really took it to my heart. In business, fall in love with the problem, but not with the solution. So if you will keep in mind why you do what you do, right? You will have your ups and downs. You will have more downs than ups for sure, like all of us. What will keep you motivated is the clear understanding why you do what you do. Okay, what it is, the problem that you are solving, and how it will make the world around your people that you're going to serve better. And it will motivate you, and it will help you to pick yourself up and keep pushing. So that's probably going to be like a top level conceptual answer from my side.
That's fantastic. Thank you so very much. Atif, we're going to hold off on you for a second. Rajiv, the floor is yours.
Thanks. I totally second what Ben just said about the problem, Mariam. And you know what I would like to add here on top of that is that when you're solving a problem, you're trying to typically reach somewhere, you know, by solving that problem. So if you have, let's say, a pathway in your mind of reaching from point A to point B, no matter what you're working on, and it's important that you need to sit through and really understand what that particular problem that you're trying to solve will lead to, you know, in that pathway. And once you have that clear understanding, it's important that you go out and ask for help and identify the right sources who could help you solve that problem. Now, one of the things that I have experienced and seen with a lot of founders is that many of them try and do things on their own and don't go and ask for help enough. So it's important that you do your own learning and your own iterations, but it's important that you go out and seek help, identify the right resources. And always remember that solving a problem is an iterative process in many cases. So if you have your focus on your problem, like Ben said, and you do this iterative process through the help of your mentors and other sources who you think can help, and you're very clear where this solution for this particular problem that you're trying to solve will lead to, then you're typically in a good position. So that would be my
Awesome.
2 cents.
Thank you so very much. Atif and Wendy, I'm going to put you on my come back to list just to make sure we have time to get everyone, but I have a note that you're coming back to this question, or you can answer those in the chat as well once your questions have been asked, folks. Great question so far. Number 3, Saeed, floor is yours. What's your question? No duplicates.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm very grateful to see you all. My question is that since, you know, okay, I am going to touch on a little bit on the project I'm going to be working on. So it is technically I'm going to detect fake news by using the blockchain technology. And my question is that since the end users, who are the social media users, are not paying for my product, and actually the ones that who are going to pay for the product are the social network owners, I am confused about how I'm going to target my my market. So I don't know how I am going to draw the line between the customers and the consumers, because the consumers are the end users, but the customers are actually the business owners. And how I'm going to balance between these two, because on one hand, what matters is that how the end users are experiencing my product, and on the other hand, I have to convince the customers that I am bringing value to your product, so you have to buy my product anyway. So just wanted to know.
I'm going to throw this question to Wendy and Corinne first, because both of them had eyebrows that shot up. And this is the benefit of video conferencing. You can see when intrigue has been caught. Wendy, since I put you on pause last time, the floor is yours if you'd like it first, or you can throw Corinne to have this one first.
Sure, yeah, I don't mind. Well, that's a good question because this is a very specific question regarding how to identify your target market, right? So it's a typical question, like a marketing question. And I would say definitely it's really great you figure out the difference between users and your, people who pay for your service. And also it's a really straightforward that you know who paid for you, and you need to know what what your customer care about. So when I talk about a customer, that means the customer who paid for you. So what's important for them? If they care about the users, definitely you need to put efforts to attract the users, to convince users to use your platform, to use your service, because only you have users, your customer will pay for you. Make sense?
Awesome, thank you. Corinne,
Yeah,
did you
thank you. Yeah.
Corinne, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's your revenue model or business model, right? Like when you're building a startup, there's different a tech startup, there's different angles to look at the business model and your marketing strategy, right? So there's different, again, I keep saying different model because you probably will need to get some business education on understanding what is your business model. For example, if you take Airbnb, you know that the end user is probably the person who's doing the booking, but then the hotels or the host is the one that is. So I call it a double-edged problem, because you definitely need to provide a win-win case for your customers to be interested into the project, but you also need to care about the end users to push forward your product, because they have the power over your customer. So you cannot eliminate one and choose another. So it's a dual strategy that you will have to figure out, because that's your business model. You have to have three different type of stakeholders involved to make the business case successful.
Magical.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Daniela.
We're going to go to Atif, and then Rajiv and Sam, if you would like to put your comments in the chat, that would be great, or I can come back to you at the end just to make sure we've got time for everyone. But Atif, the floor is yours.
Saeed, this was a good question that you've asked. So I'm going to go back to some of the things our mentors have already said and add something to it. You have to start with why, and you really need to understand where the value is for your user, not just to your potential customers, but for your users. So if the value is there for end user who consumes news, or and instead of social networks, the money may come from there. So at this time, don't limit yourself as to who will pay for your service. Just continue to look for the why and the value that you can offer them. And the business model will evolve as your product evolves.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Going forward, we are going to, you guys are answering such wonderful questions and you're asking such wonderful questions. We're going to do 2 mentor answers spoken, and then anyone else, I will encourage you to put your answers in the chat. And then also I've got notes so that students can connect with you one-on-one just to make sure we get everybody's questions answered. Payman, you are up next.
Yeah, sure. I want to know about like any failure stories that you have got, and what was the reason behind that, and how did you overcome that? How did you manage that? If you have any sort of experience, I would really love to hear that.
Okay, that is a loaded and big question. I'm going to give one mentor the fail story and everyone else gets to type them in the chat because we could be here all day and need snacks. Rajiv, your hand flew to that one. So the floor is yours for the failure story.
Sorry, thanks, Leah. I think it's a great question to ask early on. And while there are many reasons why startups fail in my experience, my own personal experience has been because I tried to solve a problem which fancied my interest. It was my whim, rather than a problem that I really cared for, or a problem that I had a real expertise or strength in. So for example, I did my hospitality or cloud kitchen startup just because I am a foodie. By the way, I had previously done 2 education startups, which were fairly successful, and that kind of gave me the confidence that, hey, I can be an entrepreneur in any area I choose, right? And it doesn't work like that. So it's important that you really kind of understand the problem that you're trying to solve, and how Sam had earlier talked about product market fit. That's where the founder market fit comes, right? And these are the 2 key things why people fail. So it's important. That's my story, but I'm sure you will hear more from others.
I love it. Thank you so much. Payman, great question, loaded question. Lots of stories I feel are going to be coming, and also great stories to have in your one-on-one with mentors and in Slack as well. If there is time at the end, we'll be coming back to that question. Next up for questions is Mohammed.
Thank you, Leah. And thanks for everyone of you mentors. A lot of good news for us, for being helped by you. I have a question about the soft skills that we all need, dealing with the pressure, with all of these ambitions when we are as an entrepreneurs. So let me ask like a general question. How do you deal with the stress that comes with the ideation, with the validation, with all of the like along the journey, and also like the high ambitions, like you're fancying a lot of stuff in your mind, but you don't know about the market. And also, how do you deal with that feel of rushing things out just because you want to make your first sale? Yeah, that's my question.
Thank you very much for that question. I love when there's like a flurry of mentor hands go up. Ben, you were the first one to get your hand up. It was swift and I like it.
Awesome. I was ready. Like, so it was a complex question. I would like to touch on the stress portion of it. Okay, so 2 points in here. First of all, deassociate yourself from your business. Okay, the failure of your business is not your failure. If your product is failing, it is not you failing. That is just the business. So first of all, you have to deassociate yourself to a certain degree and disconnect the back and forth between them. And second, entrepreneurship is, generally speaking, a lonely journey. So build a team of like-minded people that you can discuss problems with them. As minimum, as maximum, force yourself to take breaks. Force yourself to spend time on hobbies, right? In my case, for example, I will book Saturdays in specific days for whatever I like to do. And it is booked in my calendar and I commit to it. because I try to respect myself as well. So that's kind of helps you to reduce the stress. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to touch on this question, actually.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. I once heard the sentence, you have to earn the right to work in your business. And so you have to take care of yourself as you're going through this. Andrew and Wendy, I'm going to send you to the chat for what I am confident are brilliant answers as well. But we are going to scoot along. Mohammed, thank you so much for that question. Pop over to the chat for more answers and discussion. Great and very important question to have there as well. Chen Yang, over to you. Where you at? There you at.
Hello. Thank you everyone for coming and help us. I have a very, I guess, fundamental question. Because I'm from an academic background, like a lot of you are. I don't really have much, well, I have work experience, but I never had any business experience. How do I know the entrepreneur lifestyle is for me? Like, how do I digest, like, am I a future entrepreneur and am I just gonna work for somebody else? Like, how do you find out? Thank you.
Wendy, floor is yours. Great question. Great question.
Wow, that's a great question. Well, if you say you don't have experience as an entrepreneur, but you are a scientist or researcher, I would disagree with you because there are some overlap between these two roles. Okay, because as a researcher, you are working on your own project, right? You work 24/7. You think about your project from morning till night. And as an entrepreneur, that's the same because the entrepreneur working on your own business and it's your own project and you work on it 24/7. So you make your own decision and you keep the pace of your working, style. So they have a similar lifestyle, but they are different in different, perspective. And that's the first thing I want to say, they have similarity. And the second thing is that if you are not sure whether you can be a successful entrepreneur or a businessman in the future, definitely you just start it. You start it and see whether you enjoy it. Because as a researcher, as a scientist, as a project owner, if you just focus on your project as a scientist, you probably just do your own stuff. And but you still work with some other colleagues, co-authors, or some other scientists, researchers, right? But if you are a business person and working in this entrepreneurship world, you also work with your partners, your clients, your business related colleagues. So I think still my point is there are similarities even though they are in different field. First, you can try and see whether you enjoy it. Yeah, that's
amazing.
my point.
Thank you so much. Corinne, just for time, I'm going to send you over to the chat for what I am confident is a brilliant answer. Everyone go look over there. We all are having similar feelings of like, oh my God, am I going to be an entrepreneur or not? Like, what does this even mean? And there's a really great point by Ben in there right now. Thank you for that awesome question. Next up is going to be Pan.
Thank you everyone for coming to answer our questions. My program is related to food and human nutritional sciences. So when I ask some questions, some personal questions may come up, and like such as their age. I mean, like their age or family medical history. So what should I ask politely? Or if they don't want to answer my questions, should I change the subject or skip to the next question?
Fascinating. Any mentor want to tackle the great question of personal and private information and bringing that up in early conversations and kind of how to navigate that side of things?
I think with the program that we're in right now, you probably have to go through your the research ethics board, especially with the link to the university. There can be some prior screening. It's a bit technical, so it's probably best to sort of navigate that one on one around this, but I think you have to be cognizant of the privacy rules, no matter what you're doing. You have to do it in business, in research, whatever the case may be. So there's some technical aspects that you probably have to work through to get some of those answers in the
Thanks.
survey questions, or how you even record and store the information. So we can work through some of those details.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Mavis. And Pan, that's as you're going through, those are things that we can also work on in the program of finding that. So to earlier points from mentors, also always coming back to the problem and how is that being experienced. And you can kind of weave your stories from super specific detail to a little more broad experiences to help navigate some of those personal identifying kind of questions, but we can get more into that. That's a really interesting question and a complex one that you will have to navigate through this program. Thank you for that. And feel free, mentors, any other things, I point at my screen like you can see what I'm pointing at. Any other answers to questions can always go in the chat. It is a lively conversation happening over there. Next up, we have Menya.
Hello, maybe my name?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm really sorry for my camera problem. And thank you everyone for coming and teaching us so many useful skills. I have a specific question about today's today's lesson. We learned how to outreach and write emails. I'm struggling with the subject. Actually, we contact with a stranger. Maybe it's hard for me to let them interested in my email. So can mentor please provide some examples about the subject that can catch your eyes and that you are willing to answer my email? Yeah, that is my question.
Oh, that's an awesome question. Thank you for that. I'm going to throw it to the crowd. Who has strong opinions about email subject lines for cold email outreach? Sam, I'm looking at you as a marketer. Nerman, I'm looking at you as a woman who's been through that center and knows a lot of emails that come across her desk and what might be there. Or Andrew, Sam, over to you.
Yeah, I think if there's a way to avoid a cold open is where I would start. If you're looking at someone who maybe you have mutual connections through LinkedIn, see if you can get that warm introduction. Also through programs like this, I've found a lot of support even just through having relationships with mentors to be able to get into places that I wouldn't have otherwise, conversations with people at recycling organizations that I just would not have if it weren't for that person who's the intermediary, willing to help and support me, but also who has an ethos, a trust and respect in the business sector or community that you're looking to get into. That would be my first thought, is to try sort of to avoid that. If you have to do a cold open, just frame it in terms of meeting the needs of that company. Number one, so in the subject line, speaking specifically to what you identify as your product market fit. If it's true and valid product market fit, then there will be some understanding on the other side that that's what they're looking for. Additionally, really making sure that you find the right person at an organization, that you're talking to the right person. That's number one. The third thing I would add is just to snowball as much as you can. So at the end of a customer interview, ask who else you could talk to. If they know, 5 people who are in this universe as well, who might be good contacts for customer interviews for yourself. You do that. It's like Wayne's World, they tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends and so on. And next thing you know, you have a lot of people who you're talking to. So those are probably three strategies.
Awesome. Wendy, super quick, any tips on email subject lines?
Yeah, well, so I would say I had some experience of working with someone who doesn't know me, but in order to open the door to the stranger, not stranger, but who doesn't know you, the email you can emphasize 2 things. Either you ask for help, sincerely, because from research study shows that most people, they have intention to help others. So if you show that you wanna help, you need some support, mostly they would like to give you a hand. And the second strategy is that you need to do some research about the target, the person who you send email to, and try to understand their situation, their background, and their story or their business, and try to figure out what's the right way that you can open the conversation with this person. And in that case, you just focus on this kind of the conversation opening, and design your subject of the email.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wendy. All right, next question. We're coming to the finish line here. Hashir.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here for us. So my question is, we have a very popular principle in entrepreneurship, that is failing fast and failing often. So my question is, at what point do we actually know that we are failing, or we are actually not failing, and we should just continue? Like, we are in the very early stages of our entrepreneurship journey. So how do we know that we are actually failing and we should try something new, or we should continue with the same thing which we are working on? Thank you.
Ooh, good question. Good question. Andrew. Nerman, perfect. Nerman.
No, it's okay.
No, Nerman, you raised your hand. I was just picking on Andrew.
So I would quote in one of my events that I have attended with Jeff Hoffman. He's a very well-known US mentor. And a similar question was asked, and his answer was really fabulous for everyone. So his answer is that all what you have to do is to do a good job. Go, do good job, do good business, and leave it. And leave it and keep doing the good job, because the results will be maybe not now. That does not mean if you didn't have the answer within 1 month or 1 year or maybe 5 years of your business, that means that you're a failure. No, maybe it's kept for you after 10 years or whatever. I was discussing with one of my colleagues about Grammarly. Grammarly started with, grammar. They didn't invent the wheel. They didn't do anything, just like they applied the grammar in a different way. 10 years after now, the evaluation of Grammarly, how much? $13 billion. Did they know that they're going to reach 13 billion? I guess no. No one even thought that Grammarly could reach that much evaluation. If they could, if they want to evaluate themselves year by year or maybe day by day and taking people's opinions here and there, I believe that they should stop, early enough. But just like do a good job, leave it there, and I believe you will be rewarded in a way or another. This is my simple answer.
I love it. Thank you so much. All the other mentors, I know we have strong opinions about when we pivot and how we move forward. Corinne, yes, you have 1 minute.
Yeah. So I think there is the concept of iteration for every entrepreneurs. It's not about pushing your agenda. It's about the customer agenda. And I think you're going to learn that pretty quick, that when people don't want what you have to say, you have to figure out what they want. So the process is figuring out what they want and keep improving your idea, keep improving your technology. And there's also other ways, like we talked about entrepreneurship. I know last cohort, I had someone who sat down with me and said, you know what, there's no way I'm going to bring this to market. And that was an honest conclusion that it came. And then we talked about, how about entrepreneurship? How about you start working within a company, but you don't give up on the business and you keep improving? I think there's so many ways. If you can think about being creative and not limit, there's no limit. So don't limit yourself with this journey. Don't say this cannot be done, this can be done that way. And I absolutely agree with Nermin. Do a good job, take the result, be analytical, but also be creative, keep dreaming. And I'm pretty sure that you will probably be able to move forward with your idea, or kind of the evolved idea will be somehow a conclusion for your project.
I love this. And everyone go book your one-on-ones with Corinne for productive pep talks that you need to have about how you move through challenges. That's what you're going to get there. Amazing. Mohammed Ali, question floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. About my question, we have a market for our product, and there are customers. But at the same time, we have some people or companies that provide similar products, or at least they are working in the same field or technology. So my question is that how we can connect or link with these peoples who work in the same or similar products, or is it possible to connect or not? But I'm sure it can be very helpful.
Awesome. Thank you for that great question. Important one you're all going to face. Nerman swooping in with the hand raise. Love the enthusiasm. Floor is yours.
Yes, so this is an amazing question, and this is very popular in the entrepreneurial, field. So my answer is usually if this is valid, then we will never be having any Apples or any Samsung mobile phone, and we will all stick with the Nokia. When the Nokia started as an iPhone, I don't know, maybe all of you are young enough not to know Nokia, I don't know. But Nokia was, the first, mobile. And then we were like amazed. Oh my God, Nokia, it's stupid. If you look at it, it's like nothing compared what Apple have, our new iPhones and everything, right? So if this notion is valid, if there is a big, let's say, player in the market, then where I have my market, or how I can penetrate his market, then as I'm telling you, you will never be having any iPhones or Samsung. There is always a space. And always remember, we are 8 billion population all around the world. So there always will be a market for you, but the cleverness in the entrepreneur is find your right market. So maybe you're in Canada and you're creating a pen, a simple pen. No one will care about it. But maybe if you're going to go to the Honolulu or any other, I don't know where, maybe people will be amazed by that pen. So I believe it's all about finding the right market, and don't always limit yourself with the borders of the countries. Entrepreneurship has no borders, and you have to always think around, across borders to find your market.
Love it. Thank you, Nerman. As someone who spends a lot of her time in international sales, remember, there's more than Canada. We are actually a relatively small market, all things considered, and competition can play in interesting spaces. And Mohammed Ali, that's absolutely more questions to dig into about how to play nicely with the competition in the market when they're established. You can do that in mentor one-on-one chats and in office hours. There's a lot of creative solutions to build those relationships. Stan, over to you. And then Garrett, I think you've solved this one, but you're last. By random, not by choice. So Fan, over to you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. And I'm really excited about having this opportunity to connect with you all. So my question is, how do you identify good opportunities that stand up from others in the market?
Ooh, 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 ooh. Andrew.
So
Great question.
From the tech transfer perspective, really the market's looking for, big changes, right? How are you going to disrupt something? So are you looking for, is it an incremental improvement that you're offering to the field? Let's say if I have a drug that I'm using and I can sort of make it 5% better. Well, is that enough to say, there's going to be a market interest? So as you're talking about, asking your interviews, really understand, what they need, and then to try to compare your product to what's on the market and see how you stand out, whether that's a new way of thinking that's better, faster, cheaper. If so, quantify it somehow. Because when you pitch those products, when you pitch your solution, they want to see how much of an improvement that you're doing. If so, then it's more likely that they're going to be interested in supporting it and in moving it to the support your commercialization strategy. If that makes sense for you, Fan.
Awesome. Great question. Ongoing answers, Fan. As you're working through, you'll also find new examples and illustrations from your conversations. But it's a really great question to be asking this early on. Absolutely not least, but definitely last. Garrett, the hardest challenge of no duplicate questions. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for all your valuable help today. My question is more along the lines of protecting your ideas. So say if a concept is patented and you design a device that the design is completely different, the execution is different, and the application is different, how much do you have in a say of how you can proceed with this product? Do you always have to keep the other person in the loop?
Do you have whole control, or yeah, just something like that?
Ooh, patents and IP. Andrew just had to step out. I do highly recommend you booking a one-on-one with him to talk about this from a specific university standpoint. It's everybody nods because you just asked a doozy of a question. But Atif is bravely raising his hand, so we will let him have the floor.
Atif
This is a
the
good
IP
question.
guy, though.
This is a good question, and I at Northforge I deal with IP issues day in, day out. So I'd love to answer it with a story. And the story goes to Edison and Tesla. Edison came up with DC volt, what we use to charge our phones and whatnot. And initially, the whole neighborhoods would just have DC current, and all the light bulb that he had patented could only use DC volt and DC current. So nobody else could create a light bulb because Edison had the patent on it. The way Tesla got around to it was that he adapted AC current, which comes from Germany at that time. Siemens had invented it, and he used a light bulb, same output, same result, but using AC current. And Edison, with all his money and might, could not stop a new process to get the same result. So in patents, it's the process, the steps that you take gets you a patent, and you can overcome it by doing completely different thing to achieve the same result. And this is one simple way of looking at the answer.
And a beautiful, beautiful answer to wrap up our mentor panel. Garrett, we will be directing you over to Andrew for more tech transfer questions. And all of you will be having tech transfer questions. Sorry, it's a real tongue twister. As we go through this program as well, because tech transfer, patents, IP, your institutions, complex legal processes that need to be taken care of in early stages. Mentors, oh my goodness, the wealth of knowledge that you have offered up today, I cannot say thank you enough. I'm not even part of this learning program, and I absolutely adore listening and hearing from all of you. It's absolutely brilliant. Students, you have no idea what you have access to right now, and the wealth of experience, enthusiasm, support, and insight, of connection, of expertise that lives in this cohort, in this mentor pool. Take advantage of this. Thank you all so much. They will be sending you LinkedIn invitations. They should have some context available. Mavis straight up won't accept you if you don't. And they'll also be booking your one-on-ones with you as we go through the program. The mentor chat is up and chatty. And I cannot thank you enough for all of this. It's been an absolutely beautiful experience to facilitate this conversation. A+ to all of you students, no duplicate questions. I absolutely love it, and some absolutely fantastic ones and really important ones to be asking early on. So mentors, I will wave adieu to all of you and wish you a lovely afternoon. Students, hang tight. We got a 5-minute wrap up and you'll be off to do homework. Thank you all so much. All right, lovely cohort 5. That wraps us up on day 3 of your boot camp. Y'all did great today. We are going to be moving through this. You have homework assignments, and we talked about them already, and they're nothing scary and nothing big, but you are expected to do them, and you will be doing them tonight because I will be going into all of your workbooks to leave you lovely little dustings of positive messages, encouragements, and little augmentations that you can tackle. So you will absolutely have all of those done by 6 p.m. Central Time, so that at 8 p.m. Halifax time, I can go in and do this work. I will be in a great mood. I'll be in sweatpants and living my best life by 8 p.m. So it will be nothing but joy coming your way. Write your scripts, get those first bad drafts out there. Write your voicemail scripts, get those first bad drafts out there, and write your reflections on networking today, both from the Remo breakout rooms where you got to meet each other, but also from going through all of this with all of the mentors today as well. I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed. It is such a privilege to get to drop into these programs, meet all of you, learn about your brilliant ideas and amazing innovations that you want to see about taking to market, and meet 14 aspiring potential entrepreneurs. So many paths are in front of you. This is such a cool program, and all of you just like delight and inspire me to keep on going. I am here for anything you need. Pop me a note in Slack anytime. Book a one-on-one meeting with me if you'd like to chat more about marketing or positioning or this program or general help, or you just need a word of encouragement, because I think you're all going to do great and you're all going to plow through the barriers that inevitably come up in any path. But you're scientists, you know how to push through any sort of setbacks and learn from any sort of failures that might come along. Cool learning opportunity is what those are. Are there any questions before we set you free for today? Or anything Dimitri or Amanda you have? Dimitri, floor is yours.
All right. Shake it off. This is the end of the day. There was lots there, and we tend to have a little bit of Zoom fatigue right around 2 o'clock. But I'm going to give you some quick information on the end of day announcements that people have been asking me things throughout the day. I just want to address it once for each of you to hear some of the answers that I have to questions that have come up. And then we will release you. So give me the benefit of a few minutes, and we will be done for the day. Of course, you're not done for the day because you still have work. It is boot camp. Boot camps are meant to be intense. And then we kind of slow it down and we move the needle slowly by building habits and rituals in your daily practice, so that when you get through this program, those little cumulative effect of all those little things you do every day will have tremendous impact on what you're trying to build. All right, let me share my screen. I think that's it. Okay, end of day announcements. Homework. I'll just quickly gloss over. Recorded video lecture, market research best practices. Of the 3 videos that you have seen thus far, this is the 3rd one. This one is the one that adds a lot of value. They all add a lot of value. And then the last one, the half-hour one on Friday, takes you through a simulation of the entrepreneurial leads experience as they are doing customer discovery. So the instructor there is a national instructor. He does a great job of just taking you through, and you kind of go through the motions with a hypothetical team. Okay, so watch market research best practices. There'll be a quiz tomorrow again. Student workbook. Leah has given you some writing to do and a little bit of a network reflection. You're crafting your first drafts. Do this tonight. I encourage you. Do it tonight, because Leah is going to, for sure, provide some good feedback. She's very good about that, super good about that. Always happy and impressed with the level of support that our facilitators provide. Check with your technical lead. This is for me now, your student advisor. Ask them about the MyTax funding. Has it landed in their bank account yet? Probably not, but ask anyway and let me know tomorrow if any of you have received funds in that space. Why do you say? Because some of the questions that we've had today. How do we use our discretionary funds? And I said, use them, first of all, I'm going to encourage everybody to buy a LinkedIn account so that you have all the features. And then as you go, you can utilize the full power of LinkedIn and the information they're giving you back about the connections you're making and stuff. People asked about conferences. I am a firm believer, as the program manager, of a student who will come to me and say, can I go to such and such a conference? Can I cover it with my discretionary funds? Can I fly to another city? Yes, yes, and yes. And talk to me first and get my support, and talk to your student advisor and see if you can line up the funds and line up the travel. And we will talk about accommodations for the time that you're not here if it overlaps with our lesson plans. This is why we record everything. This is why we give a little bit of homework. This is why we always give you the tools and information you need ahead of time. Talk to me about that during support time. Set up a one-on-one meeting with me. This is what we're here for. I really do actually endorse going to conferences and things like that, trade shows. Everybody you meet has a couple of minutes for you. So grab their business card, get that commitment from them that you will circle back and have a professional meeting with them. Throw your interview questions into that meeting, and there you go. You're doing it right. All right. Familiarize yourself with your CRM. Okay, so really kind of get to know that tool as well as you can. Today, the challenge was throwing out 50 contacts by 10 p.m. Friday night. Gets you $10 on your Tim Hortons card. Guess what? That's only the first $140 we have. We have 2 more challenges, each worth $140, but they get harder. And when you don't accomplish it, Those who do get to divide up the extra funds. So you may end up with a $60, $70 card at the end of these challenges. Why are we doing this? Because we want to emphasize the importance of outreach, and we want to emphasize how important that is getting started early so that you see the results with people who give you those interviews. You want to have great quality interviews, so you focus on certain people that you want to follow up with a couple of times to get that interview. You also want to throw out a scattergun, quantity of invitations, so that way sometimes you don't think someone's going to be as valuable, but they end up being even more valuable, or they introduce you to somebody else. You don't know who you don't know, so you want to leverage the full power of the outreach tools that we give you. Start by challenging yourself to find 50 names that you want to put on there. I said earlier today, facilitators, mentors, faculty, grab them first, put them on your list, call them, ask for, hey, who should I be talking to, and get their referrals as well. That can build that 50 up really quickly. Try that tactic. Read Talking to Humans. It's mandatory. And then give the other books a look as well. The Mom Test was a good read as well. This, again, like I said, there's no pressure here. You're reading it over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Great read, though. Really recalibrates your thinking so that you're doing this well. Write one draft. Oops, sorry, let's go back here. One draft of your value proposition statement in plain language using ChatGPT. This is just an extra challenge. If you're looking to write, we want you to be able to tell people who your customer, you think your customer is, and what value you think you're providing to them for what problems. And we're saying that succinctly. You practiced some hypothesis writing yesterday. You put the customer segment and the VP together in one statement, and you've got this value proposition statement. Try to say it with less. 60 seconds or less is what you've got with almost everybody that you meet. I'm not going to show this video right now, but I'm going to tell you, go into Slack tonight. I'm going to share that video there. It says how not to articulate a value proposition. You'll get a little giggle out of it, but you'll probably hear yourself and your peers and the way you sound to us and all those people who need it, so that grandma understands it, so a very high-end grade, 10-year-old, a grade 9 to 10 student should be able to understand what you're saying. You need to change your speak. You develop an ear for what words to use when you listen to the people you're interviewing. How do they say things? What words get them excited? What buzzwords do they use? Start using their vernacular and start picking up on their speak, because that's the way you're going to be able to communicate to larger audiences in the future. All right, I hope you've still got a little bit of energy to hear the rest of this. Find your favorite wallpaper for tomorrow. I want you to Zoom wallpaper. I'm going to ask you, start with that Zoom wallpaper in the morning, have it up behind you. Make sure it represents a passion or a special interest of yours, your personality in some way. Put something that kind of resonates you behind you in your background. And also look up your favorite coffee mug and have it handy. Some of you are on campus, some are at home. Try and get that coffee mug ready. I'm going to take a photo tomorrow. I want to see you guys in all your glory with your background and your favorite coffee mug. Engage socially. Go to Slack and contribute. Connect with ELs, mentors, and facilitators. If you haven't figured it out yet, the social game, we're emphasizing that in the way, it's a way of building community. It's a way of reinforcing your networking skills. It's the way of building up your network of assets. Anything that the collective wisdom of all the people that you meet is where you're going to find out all your answers. And then have fun. If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. And that's always been my motto. So please, if you're not having fun, let me know what's causing you to stay up at night. We need to kind of remove those blockers as much as possible and get you feeling like you're moving along the path, the journey, in a way that you are really enjoying. If you don't enjoy this, guys, then it's not for you. But I'm telling you, if you do it right and you're having fun, then it'll be great. It'll be a great experience. And it'll grow you regardless of what your decision is at the end of this program. That's all I've got. You are released into the good night.
Okay,
And,
first, give a big round of applause. Leah here. Thank you so much. Wonderful instruction today.
Thank you all. This is a delight.
And we will put in Slack just some of the items that Dimitri mentioned. I'll also link the bootcamp day where you can see what some of the things do and the link to the video. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Leah. I really like the energy.
Oh, thank you. Guys, this is an absolute joy in my life, and I am so impressed with all of you. Have a great day. I'm always here in your corner.
Yeah, you too. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Take care.
Great day, guys.